one overall. You were bold if you got that in there, but it might have paid off.
I was on the other side of that one. I had I really thought that Josh McDaniel would bring over the Erhardt Perkins system. He did bring that system over, but he did not bring the 2-back setup over. It's really just a 1-back setup. So that's why I was fading him a little bit. Turned out that wasn't true. So there you go.
Dude is just fantastic. He's so good.
Truly.
Everyone watching, Tommy's not having a tomato breakfast, but I hope he brought something to eat. And everybody else, I hope you brought your breakfast, because we've got the news stories. We've got the topics. All you got to have is the food that you are eating. Coop, I'm going to kick us off today with something very important that happened yesterday during the Jaguars-Ravens game. Did you see what that mascot was wearing on the sideline of that game?
I couldn't unsee it. It's like permanently burned. It's what I see when I shut my eyes now. What was that about? Did anyone ever explain what that was about?
I didn't see it, but who greenlit that idea? It was the mascot's idea. Like, they went in and they're like, "Yo, hear me out. I'm ditching the bodysuit. I'm painting my body."
Was it paint or was it?
It had to have been paint.
It had to be paint. It was like a stretchy thing. I'm looking at it now.
It was like a spandex, like a morph suit or something.
Like a cat dog morph suit. Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to wear a morph suit and then I'm going to put a Speedo on and then stand on the sideline in very clear sight for the entire game on the national broadcast. Sound good? They were just busy and they're like, yeah, whatever, mascot. Just go ahead.
This tweet from Scott Barrett was my favorite one. The Jaguars are undefeated when their mascot just gets naked. I want to say that he did it for like America for the but like, because he was wearing an American like thong or a banana hammock of some kind. So my guess is he was doing it for the World Cup. Maybe, I have no idea. The U.S. didn't play it. The U.S. didn't play yesterday. Just amazing.
No, they don't play until Tuesday again. Like, he's not changing out of that. He's wearing that outfit until Tuesday when the U.S. plays.
Yeah.
Tommy said he was trying to attract a cougar. Good one. But it's the age of apps. He would have just gone on to cougarhunter.com or something like that and found one if that's really what he wanted. Craig in here said Joey and Troy King collaborated on that outfit in Jacksonville. That checks out. There were some flares of Joey in there and some definite flares of Troy.
They are both in Florida, dude. And it was definitely a very Thirsty Thursday outfit for his name is Jackson DeVille. That's his mascot name.
No, it's not.
I swear to God, it is, dude. It's what when I saw that. I also learned that yesterday. I was like, that's phenomenal.
Jackson DeVille. Keith in here saying it wasn't the first time either that he's done that. How have we never seen that before? Have the Jaguars just been irrelevant enough that like they didn't even put a Jaguar in a Speedo on the broadcast?
Yeah. Jaguars never won. I guess they had to play a good game against the Ravens, or else we probably would have seen much of it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
just wild.
So from the actual gameplay yesterday, the one thing that stood out to me that I love seeing, especially as a Patriots fan and an agent of chaos and a fan of anarchy, is that Mike White looked real good. And I saw somebody pointed out that after the first drive, Mike White came over and he got with Joe Flacco and Chris Streveler and quarterbacks coach Rob Calabrese, and they sat there and they talked and looked at a tablet, and then somebody panned over and Zach Wilson was just sitting there like this, like just not even involved with the quarterback meeting. So looks like he's definitely taking the maturity to another level here, just taking himself completely out of the quarterback group, out of all discussion. Just embarrassing stuff, man. You got to be over there with the squad.
Yeah, get over there and celebrate with them. It's like whenever Peach took over for Baker Mayfield, kept the starting job, and he goes out there and throws a touchdown bomb, the first person over there celebrating with him was Baker. Classic. You know what I mean? Like, say what you want about the dude, but he was out there ready, like, let's freaking go, Peach. And that's what you're seeing here. Joe Flacco over there ready to go. Quarterback's coach, like, okay, what's next? Like, let's break this down. Come on, Zach Wilson, man. If you want a job in this league, you got to just eat that humble pie, be the backup while you're the backup, and walk over there and learn. Show them that you want that starting job back. Seriously, you're the second overall pick in the NFL draft. Like, the deck is loaded in your favor. If you just start showing that, you're going to get a starting job. Hell, you'll probably even get back on the field this season.
Right. You got to, I think first and foremost at this point, when you get benched, when this stuff happens, you have to show you're part of the team first. Like if you're never going to win that job back if you just don't be a good teammate. So him doing that in the very first drive of the game, childish, not good. Producer Keith, who is a Jets fan, says Zach Wilson reminds me of the Star Wars meme. You were the chosen one. It really is like he's gone full evil. It was pretty quickly. He turned full evil when what is it, Operation 66 or whatever? Execute 66. Like he's just gone full murder.
Next, he's going to come out and be like, I want to be traded to the Giants so I can teach the Jets a lesson for how they treated me. Like that's the next stage in this, right?
Always. That's classic. Get
Tommy
traded across town.
Yeah. Just saying that he gets to come to the same place. Tommy said, let's get a hog head mascot. Dress Keith in a Speedo with a FYF logo painted on his back. He said he'll streak the Jets game. What do you think? You wanna run that, Coop? We can get some video of it for the show.
Well, let's vote on it. I vote yes.
Okay, let me think about it. Yeah, I'll vote also yes. And it sounds like Keith is in. So that's a unanimous 3-vote yes. Keith, congratulations. You'll get to do that at the next Jets game.
Perfect. Yeah, the streakers have been treated very well lately as well. It seems it's gone very well for them as of late. We see Albert in the chat. Albert, good morning, brother. What's happening?
What up, Albert? Glad to have you here, my man. From that Jacksonville Baltimore game, one thing I wanted to talk about was that game-winning drive. Trevor Lawrence coming out there, putting together a beautiful drive at the end of the game to win it, capped off by a 2-point conversion instead of just going for the tie. Something felt like this game was like his coming out party or like his breakout. Not that he hasn't been good this year, but this felt like a defining win for him in the Jaguars. Like one of the first times I can remember in his NFL career where he hasn't choked in these big moments, where he's seen the big moment and he's come out and he's taken it. Did you have that same feeling watching him in this game?
What about earlier this year when they won a couple games early on in the season and he came out and said, obviously the way we've played, you can't deny it that we're a really good team. That's what he said in September. And then they lost like 6 games straight. What about that?
Humbled immediately. This is the humility we were talking about.
Yeah, but now he's back. Now he handled it the right way. Came back. I mean, what a game yesterday. And historically, the coach, he's always gone for it in those situations. So I wasn't surprised at all by that. The fact they were able to make that play, beautiful for them. And did you see on the other side of the ball how Lamar Jackson reacted on Twitter with that?
He said something like
brutal. He said something that we probably shouldn't even say on this show.
Y'all MFers just be capping too much on Twitter, and y'all have never even sniffed a football field or something along those lines.
Like you have never even smelled a football. And then he also said you can go eat a blank. But yeah, no, actually, I think it's still up. Like last I checked, he just left that up. No, it's deleted now, but it was up for quite some time, dude. Never even smelled the football. It's hilarious, dude. Mine Jedi, good morning, dude.
The side effects of losing to the Jaguars are just tweeting out F-bombs. They're just going to start leaking out. You can't help it.
Not much you could do. Yeah, I mean, it is the Jags. But yeah, I noticed I Mine Jedi comes in right after we make a Star Wars reference. Coincidence? I think not.
What's up, Jedi? Welcome in. And Albert in here said, how many double-digit leads have the Ravens blown this season? I don't know, but it feels like quite a few. Do you know off the top of your head, Coop?
No, I don't, but we can check that out. It's pretty rough the way that team's been playing. And I said it all yesterday with John and Pemba that like they're a prime example of a team that built things too thin. You trade Hollywood Brown thinking Rashad Bateman will take over that role. Rashad Bateman gets hurt, and you could see it yesterday. They just don't have the weapons. They don't have enough pass catchers. And dude, Mark Andrews dropping that touchdown in the end zone. That brought me great pain. So I don't know. They're not built for it right now. And trade deadline's gone. Only so many guys out there available. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to hang.
Craig in here letting us know Ravens have the record now with blowing 3 or 4 double-digit quarter 4 leads.
Wow.
Yikes. And also wants to know who goes around smelling random footballs.
That's just you. just smelling different ones just to see which one smells the best.
Oh, the Wilson.
You know the Duke's got to smell the best. Yeah, but no, I mean, I get what he's saying on that one. It's just so aggressive. There's no reason to be that aggressive, especially for a guy trying to get a contract here. It's like, pump the brakes, dude.
Chill out. Jedi in here saying I'm actually going up against a team called the Empire in week 14. So we will see what side of the force will prevail. What's your team name, Jedi? Is it Illmind Jedi? I bet it's something along those lines. Got that in there as
Probably something
well.
Sweet like that, dude. Yeah. Just make sure you stay on the light side, dude. Don't dabble in those dark arts.
Coop, yesterday we got an update on Allen Robinson, wide receiver for the Los Angeles Rams. Things just keep getting worse for that team over there. He needs foot surgery and will be out for the rest of the season. This came from Sarah Barshop saying that came directly from Sean McVay himself. So another one down. Matthew Stafford, there's the rumors that he's going to be shut down for the rest of the year. Cooper Kupp out likely the rest of the year, could return at the end of the season. They cut Darrell Henderson. And now Allen Robinson out for the rest of the year as well. It's like the B squad out there. They got the B team playing rest of the year, it seems like.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty ugly, man. That guy, Bryce Perkins, say what you will, dude. That guy is a steamroller. He had a couple of runs where he was going downhill. I was like, whoa, there's a big boy here. Could be kind of interesting for if he puts something together, because I mean, guys that can run like that. I looked at it, and his last 2 years at Virginia, he ran over 400 times. So this guy is not scared to lower the shoulder and truck it, and he might need to, because it's like going to be him and Ben Skowronek and Van Jefferson
and Cam Akers.
Well, actually, oddly enough, I saw that Kyron Williams played 70% of the snaps this week. So could be wheels up for him. Very rare does a running back even play 70%. We were talking about it the other day, where only Saquon Barkley averages over 80% of the snaps. So if you're playing 70% of the snaps, that's meaningful to me. So kind of interesting there, Kyron.
Did you see the NBC Sports Edge update about Cam Akers, about his performance?
No, what is that?
They tweeted out, and they put it on their app as like the title of the update. If you've got push notifications on, it said Cam Akers explodes for 37 yards in week 12 loss.
Those those guys have so much fun writing those headlines, man. It's like, I know who writes those, dude. It's like Pat Corain and those guys, and they crack. I know when who's writing which one sometimes. I remember in the offseason, it actually turned out to be true, but it was like they wrote something like Albert Okwuegbunam's going to get an opportunity to compete with Greg Dulcich for tight end one. And that was back before any of that had been decided. And it turned out to be true, but still, like, just the snarkiness. I love that, dude. Got to mix in a little fun,
Absolutely. And Coop, with the Rams struggles and with all these injuries, it doesn't look like it's going to get too much better. The first round pick that they traded to the Detroit Lions is currently the number 3 overall pick in the NFL draft.
Oh no. Looks like, well, that's the thing, man. And that's why we talk about this in fantasy football. Both teams can win a trade sometimes. Like the Rams cannot lose the trade now, right? Like, it can work out well for both teams, but the Rams can't lose the trade because they won the Super Bowl. There was a parade. You can't undo that parade. So they could they could come in dead last in division 4 or 5 years in a row, and who cares? Because there's 32 teams, only one team gets to win. It's almost as if you win 1 season out of 32, you're playing with house money, right? Like, that's why you sell out. That's why you trade all the picks. So I'm not, if they had lost last year, then you say, oh my God, what have we done? But you won. So who cares? Let them have the pick. Good for Brad Holmes, man. I root for the Lions because they're doing things the right way, in my opinion, from top to bottom, building the team from the inside out, right? Even DeAndre Swift was not picked by this current regime. That was a last grasp at trying to keep the team relevant from Matt Patricia. They built it inside out with the offensive line's great defense. They got Aiden Hutchinson, and now you go out and you get those hired gun pieces. You go out and pay for pass rusher, corner, get a quarterback, right? And then after that, you sprinkle on the the short-term positions like running back, right? So I love what they're doing. I root for that team, and hopefully that pick does stay up high and they get another superstar, because that'd be fun.
I'm with you. I keep saying that. I keep hearing the narrative like, oh, they sold their soul for a Super Bowl. They sold it, like, yeah, and it worked.
Right.
That, like, and they got their Super Bowl. So whatever happens, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it for them. Guys, coming up, we are going to keep on bringing you some of these stories while you guys finish your breakfast. Then we're recapping this Sunday night football game that took place last night. We've got our Monday night football prop bet draft to go through. And then a game of hypothetically as well. And as always, we're going to be talking some hogs and logs from this weekend's games on this Monday. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Better Sports Live with Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla. Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific.
Obviously, you've got a couple identities here, right? And so, Lisa Ann's here. Let's talk sports. Let's talk fantasy. What about my team? What do you think about my team? Like, that's dope, man. Like that brand you have built here is huge. And over in Switzerland, you're a big deal in Switzerland. Of course you are.
In Europe, all over Europe. But when I was at the Jersey show like 2 or 3 weekends ago, my security was shocked because every other guy legit handed me his phone and said, yo, Lise, can you check my lineup? Can you look on the waiver wire? I got bye weeks coming up. You're right. It's really neat how my worlds have become just this synergy between, me being me and then me reaching out to all of these different people and having this common ground that now it's like we're kind of bros when we talk about sports, right? We're just friends. We're all sharing the same heartbreak or pain. Sports is the international language.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray. Weekdays at noon Eastern, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Probably every team knows that inking starting pitchers to big deals and big money agreements is bad business. But that's the business they're in. What else are they going to do? That's what it costs to play the game. And all these pitchers realize it. I'd like to sit here and say, well, you should develop your own pitching. You should never pay these guys $25 million a year. But Ray, I don't think teams can do that. It's like the pitchers have a lot of power despite their weaknesses and despite their fragility. They still have so much control over the purse strings of these teams and these GMs and these owners. They don't care, Ray. They're seeing the same numbers we are. They know Jake DeGrom. If they sign him, you pray for 130 innings. Every team knows that, Ray. They may say something different, but they know what's going on. And Ray, it won't stop them. I mean, what do you think DeGrom gets in free agency this year?
I think he'll get 4 or 5 years, and he'll get 35 a year each, right? Paying $20 million for Drew Smyly is stupid. Paying $200 million for DeGrom is idiotic, in my opinion. Jacob DeGrom has had 14 injuries the last 2 years. Like, every part of his body, it's just, and he's phenomenal. But you can't be locked in. If DeGrom makes 25 starts, 26 starts, if he throws 150 innings, you could win your division. You could win the World Series. I get it. But if he does the other thing, which is what he's done the last couple of years, your team is so hamstrung, unless you're one of like 2 or 3 teams, you can't spend your way out of that.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Better Sports Network.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. Coop, let's get right back into some of this news. And you got something for me?
I want to talk. So, last thing that was said in the chat, Albert said Tyler Higbee had 0 targets yesterday, which is true, dude. He basically played offensive tackle, 34% route participation, 0% target share. And I warned folks that this could happen specifically because we know exactly what kind of player Tyler Higbee is. His average depth of target is around 3 yards. That puts him outside the top 90 tight ends. Only like 120 tight ends have actually gotten targets on the season at all. So he's outside the top 90 in terms of route running, right? You look at a guy like Matt Stafford, who's not particularly mobile. If the play breaks down or he's looking for somebody, he's willing to flip it over to a guy like that, even if it's like, 4 yards, and say, hey, you run with it. If the play breaks down with a guy like Bryce Perkins, he's not going to do that. Like if it's him standing next to Tyler Higbee, he has no incentive to flip it over to Tyler Higbee. He's just going to say, hey, why don't you go block somebody? I'm going to run it. That's exactly what happened here. That was my main concern with Higbee, besides the fact that I don't think he's particularly good. He's not super elusive. He doesn't break tackles. So was not excited about Tyler Higbee. And then this is what happened. So you really couldn't trust that guy already. And now you definitely cannot trust that guy.
Drop him? Would you be dropping him?
I think honestly, I don't like the idea of just dropping guys and without a plan to pick somebody up. Like, because there's so many different leagues that dynasty, very deep leagues, but I would definitely be looking for other options. He's probably not going to be in my top 20 tight ends next week because they didn't even throw him the ball, right? So
if Logan Thomas is on the waiver wire, do you prefer Logan Thomas over Tyler Higbee?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think I'm right there with you. I'd be rolling out some Logan Thomas as well.
Logan was a little banged up. That was the thing with him. I mean, but he's been getting ramped up a little bit. So
yeah, it might be that time of year. We've seen it before where they use him heavily, where he's heavily involved in the game plan. We know that's something the Commanders don't mind doing. We got some updates, not about the team that Odell Beckham Jr. would be landing on, but about the process. Did you see what happened to him last week?
Yeah, with the plane.
Yeah, or this weekend. He was kicked off a plane in Miami on Sunday. The flight crew said the NFL wide receiver was in and out of consciousness and wouldn't put his seatbelt on. The flight was delayed after he refused to get off. And then there was a video of him being escorted out by security. The video didn't look like someone that was just like minutes ago in and out of consciousness. Know what I mean? Like I read the report, then I watched the video and I was like, I don't know, man. Like he was walking just fine to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it could be a number of things. I honestly I would love to wait and hear what he says because there are some people that take like anxiety meds or things like that, but I don't know. It does not look good. Refusing to get off the plane and refusing to just buckle your seatbelt, like that's childish stuff, man. So I don't know. We might have seen the end of Odell Beckham here, to be honest.
You think this could prevent him from signing with a team?
I mean, if teams can't think about Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown never stopped being good. Like he was still great every place he went. He went to New England, played one game and caught a touchdown. He went and played with Tom Brady, and on a per game basis, he scored the most fantasy points per snap in his last year that he played, more than Cooper Kupp, more than Deebo Samuel. Like we've never seen him be bad. We've just seen him be an idiot. And Odell Beckham Jr., at this point, you as a team, you have to weigh whether it's worth the distractions, right? And I don't think he's good enough if he's going to be doing this kind of stuff, man. So I don't know. I might be out on him.
Yeah, we'll see. I think he's still good enough. Did enough with the Rams last year that something like this isn't going to prevent him from getting signed. But if this pattern continues, if like you continue seeing stuff like this, you're 100% right, Coop. Jaylen here saying, hi, cuties. Good morning, JL. Hope you're feeling better, my dude. Glad to have you in the chat with us this morning.
Good morning, brother.
We got an update on the Travis Etienne injury as well, directly from Travis Etienne, which, I mean, based on the J.K. Dobbins reports earlier this year, may not be the most reliable source, but I'm going to try to be optimistic here. Travis Etienne said will be straight for next week, and that is a direct quote when asked how his foot is feeling. This comes from John Shipley on Twitter, but you feeling all right about Travis Etienne heading into next week, Coop?
Yeah, I am. I don't really think he has a reason to say that unless somebody told him that he's going to be okay. You know what I mean? So he's not going to go and sit with the trainers and the trainers tell him that it's bad and then him come out and say, I'll be fine. You know what I mean? Somebody definitely, whether they're right or not within that organization, said you're going to be good to go. Now, the thing with that is there's another story going around. I'm not sure. Did you see what the Raheem Mostert comments?
No, I did not.
So Raheem Mostert basically kind of threw the 49ers staff under the bus, basically saying they were trying to force him to come back before he was ready. And he said the second time he suffered the injury, he had already suffered the injury before, so he knew exactly what it took to get back, and they were still putting him on a timetable that he wasn't comfortable with. And he said that was a big part of why he ended up walking in free agency, why they couldn't work things out, because he felt that they were being unfair and putting players at risk. And he went as far as to say that because he was a veteran, he was able to push back, and other people don't have that option. And he's seen it happen before. And this isn't the first time we've seen this from, players around the NFL. We heard the very similar things from Curtis Samuel when he was coming back. And, someone else got hurt and he went into the game last year and then he ended up missing the entire rest of the season. So, kind of an interesting concept. It's tough balance between being hurt and being injured, right? Because they say you can play hurt, but when you're injured, you need to recover. So interesting to hear a guy during his playing career come out and throw guys on the bus like that, but maybe he's right.
Yeah. I mean, and when I think like if this was a match game prompt, like when I think of injury prone teams, I think of blank. I would probably say the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
It just seems like year after year after year, they have troubles with it. And if they're putting players on these kind of timetables, maybe that's something to do with it. They're not doing the rehab process properly.
I would have said Chargers.
Chargers,
I feel like going back
yeah.
forever, like going back a long time, that was the team that would always just lose like a major piece, So that's the team I think of when it comes to like the injuries. But the 49ers, no question. Every one of those guys has missed time. The quarterbacks, Trent Williams, the running backs, Kittle. Actually, you might be right on this one. Devo gets banged up,
Ayuk, Elijah
Mitchell, Nick Bosa. I mean, yeah, okay. Probably, maybe them.
It's just nonstop. But Tommy agreeing with you, saying me too. Chargers always destined to get hurt.
It's their destiny.
Maybe it's just those California teams. It's the California teams causing. I mean, the Rams this year aren't doing their best job at staying healthy either.
They need colder air. That New England air is just like an ice pack, dude. All ice up, dude. You just go outside.
Keeps everyone good.
Yeah. So, I mean, from the games yesterday, I was looking around to see what teams were going to rise to the occasion. There were some huge games yesterday, and I thought one of the biggest ones was that Titans and Bengals game. And to me, both teams needed it bad, and both teams kind of wanted it bad, but the Bengals were able to pull it out. Now you look at their schedule; it's pretty rough, and the Ravens kind of unreeling. Steelers aren't that great. Browns are okay. Do you think that the Bengals can be a competitive team this year? Do you think that they have a shot at getting back to Super Bowl, or are they kind of more frauds?
Back to the Super Bowl is a tall order for any team, even the teams that are like looking like they're running through the NFL right now. It's a tough bet to say that they'll make it to the Super Bowl. So I'm not comfortable saying that with the Bengals. That being said, you look at this team, the offensive line's starting to play a bit better. Joe Burrow looks like he's clicking right now. They're about to get Jamar Chase back. There's enough weapons on this team, and the defense is good enough that they can make some noise. Like they can be a playoff team, win a couple games, and if things go the right way, sure, they can make another Super Bowl appearance. But I'm not banking on it. They got the weapons to make a run, though.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Not quite. They're 7-4 though. They have a chance to win the division, but some of the other teams, like the Chiefs, look like a wagon right now. The Bills are still in the mix. Like the AFC is going to be a tough one.
The Chiefs look unbelievable right now. I feel like they were moving a little slower at the beginning of that game yesterday against that Rams team, but that Chiefs team looks top tier. And then the Eagles last night on the other side looking pretty strong as well, at least offensively. It was nice to see the offense bounce back after maybe some lesser performances.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles just aren't getting enough credit, I think, including me. Like people kept asking, who's the best team in the league? And just on the show, poll perception, I said the Bills, right? And the Eagles didn't win that poll either, but I think it's about time the Eagles start winning some of these polls because they are a good team, top to bottom too. 2 corners, 2 wide receivers. Miles Sanders look good. Jalen Hurts is obviously awesome. Dallas Goedert should be back, and he's great. I mean, the line's playing well. They convinced all those linemen to come back and play again, which was hilarious when Jason Kelsey posted the video. Did you see that this offseason?
No, I didn't.
The video he did to announce he was coming back was so Philadelphia. It was legit just him like outside in the summer. Doesn't say a word. But it's just him doing a close-up of him pouring just a huge beer out of a keg outside. He has a kegerator outside. And then he just like crushes that beer. And he's like, yeah, I'm coming back this year. Like it was just, that's how you do it, dude. That's how you do it. I see Albert in the chat. Do you think Freiermuth gets 10 points tonight? I do. I had Freiermuth in my weekly rankings. I had him tight end 3 this week because I didn't like Kittle's matchup. I didn't like some of the other guys, and the Colts have been susceptible to the pass. Plus, with the way they're running this offense now, Frymouth is getting like a 30% target share. With that level of targets, 10 points in any sort of PPR, easily doable. So I would bank on it. I'd bet on it.
Yep, I'm with you. Roll out Frymouth with some confidence tonight, Albert. And Dustin, and you're saying, what's up, all? What's up, Dustin? Welcome in, my friend. Glad to have you in here.
Right. We have to get to the biggest news from yesterday.
Hit it.
By far. And it's lived in my head since yesterday. It pretty much has wiped everything from my brain, Men in Black style. Did you see the hat that Brian Robinson was wearing?
Oh, yep. And it was on my Coop. If you didn't bring it up, I was going to bring it up next. I saw the hat.
Dude, what is with the big hat? I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop thinking about the big hat, dude.
What was the quote? He said something like, yeah, my friend has a big hat business. If you need a big hat, check out my friend's business.
Like, let me know. You need a big hat, let me know. It's like, bro, we need a full press conference to discuss the hat. I need to know what is the deal with this big hat. And I kind of need one.
He looks so serious while he's wearing it too, is the best part. Know what I mean? Like he's got this giant cap on his head, like just massive, ridiculous, like prop hat. And he's got this look on his face. He's like, yo, I got the hookup if you need one.
It was amazing, dude. Dude, didn't break character 1 second, dude. I mean, honestly, do you think he truly believes in the big hat? That would be my first question. Like, do you think he believes in the big hat?
I think he believes in his friend. And he's like, yo, I got you. This is sick. Look at what you made. I'm going to put this on. He's like, I'm going to show this on. And his friend was like, no, don't do it. He's like, I got you, man. I'm putting this on national television after the game. Everyone's going to be talking about your big hat.
That's true friendship right there, man. That's true friendship. That's like when Jerry Seinfeld wore that like frilly shirt on TV. Right? Although he was kind of forced into doing it. But yeah, Brian Robinson, man, that's a real friend, dude. He's like, yeah, let's get these big hats popping. I guarantee they sold a ton of big hats yesterday. No.
I got to get one. I got to get one. I got to get one for on stream. One of those. I saw a tweet about it. There's something like the company, like his friend bought it from the hat company Noggin Boss, which was a Shark Tank company. And then his friend customizes them.
Okay.
So like his friend runs like a big hat customization business or something like that. Maybe it's just hat customization. But the company where the hat came from was Noggin Boss.
Beat a Pat's hat.
And then his friend Ron Dyer
so
customizes the shirts or customizes the hats for him.
Can we get that link up in the FYF Discord? Because I need to locate one of these and acquire one immediately.
Joey in the chat say men with big hats equals sex. He's a big Curious George fan, Joey is. Loves Curious George. And Dustin said Noggin Boss hats are like $80. Yeah, did you see how big it was? That's $80 worth of hat right there.
Dude, as they say on Jurassic Park, which I'm wearing a Jurassic Park shirt, spare no expense.
When it comes in birds,
I get a big hat. I mean, like, I don't care. I don't care if they're $500. I'm getting you one of those hats. I think it's gotta be Patriots, but maybe Red Sox.
Maybe. Who knows?
Showing up to a Red Sox game, one of those hats. The dude sitting behind you, he's one of those dudes that like keeps the score himself, and he's just like trying to see around your stupid hat. I want to be that guy. I would love to be
backwards, and you keep like knocking his beer out of his hand with your bill. Like he'll be holding it up, and just the bill keeps knocking it out of his hand.
Well, no, there's nothing he could say either because he would just be absolutely mesmerized by the big hat.
Completely mesmerized. Coop, did you see speaking of silly things yesterday, this wasn't a hat that anybody was wearing, but Sam Darnold, if you look at the stat sheet, it says he had a rushing touchdown, but he didn't so much run the ball in as he did just like full on log rolled into the end zone after he fumbled the ball, recovered it, no one touched him, and so he just log rolls right in. It was like 3 full rotations to get into the end zone with no one touching.
You know, I think he did that in honor of the World Cup. And those dudes that just like trip on the ground and then roll like 17 times. Like he just went full Neymar on that touchdown. Out of respect.
Of course. Yeah.
Speaking of out of respect, man, the timing on some of these games, like I like watching the games. I enjoy the World Cup. And Spain, Germany is a great matchup. We couldn't have had that game at 11 o'clock. It had to be at 2 o'clock. I didn't see any of it because I don't have time to be watching other football at 2:00. I'll watch other football when there's no football on, but 2:00 for that game. Come on, have some respect for America, please.
Yeah, I didn't watch any World Cup yesterday, and I've been having them on in the background, like not religiously, but pretty consistently. But like, there's enough football to have multiple screens of just football. I just am not going to put it on in the background.
Exactly.
If the U.S. or the Netherlands was playing, I probably would have gotten the game up. But for games I didn't have a stake in, was just going to look at the results afterwards.
How's Netherlands looking this year?
Not as good as they're supposed to be looking. They snuck out a win against Senegal and then got lucky to tie Ecuador in their second game. Ecuador outplayed them the entire freaking game. The Netherlands were just on their back feet. They should have lost that game, but came out with a 1-1 tie. So they should advance, but we'll see. If they win their group and the U.S. comes in second in their group, the Netherlands and the U.S. will play in the first round of the knockout stage, I believe, which would be exciting. That would be a fun matchup for me.
Wild. Dude, you know what had me fired up for Netherlands football, Netherlands soccer, was when I was over there. I did the Heineken tour, checked out the Heineken factory.
Yeah.
And Heineken takes, because they're a Netherlands company and they have very serious pride and they love Heineken over there. They go all out for these international sporting events, and they every time they set up this thing called like the Heineken zone or something like that, and they have pictures of it from all the other ones, and like they were showing like speeches and like comments of people being like, you know, I didn't realize like the extent of this win till I got back to the Heineken zone and just saw everyone wiling out. Dude, these things that these parties they throw, legit thousands of people, everybody's wearing orange, I think it is that they rock or whatever. Dude, it looked electric. Like I wanted to be a Netherlands fan just so I could like go and chill in the Heineken zone and party at even if the team, it looks like it's fun even if the team goes like 0-4 or whatever, but 0-3. But it looked like Heineken throws a banger at all these things. So
those fans go wild. If you in 2010, if you remember, the Netherlands made the World Cup final against Spain. So they played against Spain. That was the World Cup in South Africa. And when the World Cup started, a caravan of hundreds of Dutch soccer fans got in their vehicles, got in their vans, and started driving from Amsterdam to South Africa with the plan of being there in time for the World Cup finals. They said, that's how long it's going to take us to get there. We'll travel throughout the entire World Cup and get there in time for the finals because we know the Netherlands is going to make it. And they did. The Netherlands ended up losing that finals. But this group of fans hopped in their car and drove through Europe, through like the corner of Asia right there, and then all the way down the continent of Africa in this huge Dutch soccer fan caravan. And I was like, oh man, I freaking love these fans.
Insanity, bro. Why, dude? That was cheaper than flying? I guess maybe.
That'd be like someone from England who was like an Eagles fan at the beginning of this NFL season, just like hopping in a rowboat and saying like, I'll be there in time for the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Did you know that you can't actually drive to South America?
Because of the Panama Canal?
No. So after the Panama Canal, there's a huge zone of land that is just no one's ever developed a road. I forget what it's called now, but there's like
I've looked at this on a map now.
Yes.
Now that you mention this, I've gone in there and looked at that on the map.
Right. It's like you just can't drive there, dude. And it just blows my mind that no one was ever like, all right, let's get a road. Let's get one road set up. Like, no, dude. They just we're like, it's not worth it. We're not doing it. So you can't. Someone has done it before, but it was like with a Jeep and machetes and like carrying the Jeep half the way, which sounds like not my cup of tea. I'm more of a hang out at home, eat some nachos, and watch football type guy.
I feel like the way I learned about that was watching one of those like YouTube channels where they do the 4x4 cross-continental trips, like the 4-wheel drive cross-continental trips. And they were like traveling with their vehicle and they drove it all the way through Central America and then had to like get it shipped on a ferry to their final destination.
Yeah. It's called like the Darien Gap. The Darien Gap is the name of it. And it's like you cannot, there's no way. And the other problem is that there are people there and they're basically like cartel. So not a super cool place to be.
You probably don't want to be driving there anyways. Coop, a stat I wanted to bring up was this came from StatMuse tweeting it out yesterday. Christian Watson has more receiving touchdowns than Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, and DK Metcalf. And he is leading the NFC North in receiving touchdowns after that game last night.
What? Dude, I said it yesterday. If he can manage to put up a decent game against Darius Slay and James Bradbury, he's the man. And I mean, I'll say it right now. He's the man. He looked good. Like when he finally scored, man, he looked like he was untouchable. Kind of when you're that tall and that fast, it can get scary pretty fast. I mean, people remember Randy Moss, obviously, but if you remember the early part of his career when he was running back punts and stuff, he was like untouchable. And he kind of looked like with a big stride like that, you can't even realize how fast he's actually going. Christian Watson is that fast. And on that play yesterday, go back and watch it. Like he doesn't look much faster than everyone else, but they can't touch him. He's 6'5". So if you're 6'5" and that fast, whoa, lad, you better get that guy, dude. You better get that guy before he gets away because you're not going to catch up to him.
You see him and you're like, who the hell is that fast tight end? And then you're like,
what in the heck?
That's a wide receiver out there.
Yeah, it's scary, man. I mean, dude, if people that took him in best ball drafts are eating good right now.
They are. Because if you took him in a non-best ball draft, chances are you probably didn't have him on your roster by the time you started blowing up.
Exactly.
Best ball. It got pretty gross there for a minute.
Right,
guys, coming up, we're going to talk a little bit more about this Sunday night football game. And then we've got a Monday night football prop bet draft for you. We're going to play some hypothetically. And then, of course, talk about the Hogs and Logs from this past weekend. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
The only person, I've said this to you before, who I believe back then, of all those power hitters who truly was clean, Ken Griffey Jr.
I mean, I think so when he got hurt.
Body didn't change.
We'll never know that for sure either.
No, dude.
We've seen guys who were not big take substances.
That's true.
To get busted. So it's not about that, always.
I hear you. It's just, don't you think with the way his career kind of went, you would think that he didn't take anything?
I don't think he did, but we'll never know 100%.
I'm going to keep telling myself that he didn't. The 1 year player, I mean, he's my favorite baseball player of all time. In the 1990s, Ron, as a kid, as a 5-year-old kid who plays video games and collected cards, there was no one cooler than Ken Griffey Jr. I still wear my hat backwards because Ken Griffey Jr. did it and he looked really cool doing that, wearing a backwards baseball cap. Like, he made everything the guy did looked cool. Even the home run in the movie Little Big League, it's acting, it's all, I guess, fake, but even he made that look cool. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr., you're a little bit older than me, but in the 90s, besides Michael Jordan, was there a more loved athlete than Ken Griffey Jr.?
Yeah, no, I love Griffey. He's one of my favorite players ever, from defensively to hitting his swing. And yeah, I would have loved to see what he could have done if he had stayed healthy, the final numbers he finished with. So no, I was a huge fan of Ken Griffey, and it's a shame though that all those injuries towards the end of his career just really limited the production he put up, but he still put up elite numbers. He was so fun to watch. So I'm a huge Ken Griffey guy.
And here's the other thing too. So 1994, the season got shortened because of the strike.
And he finished with 40 homers in 111 games that year, man. And then he had 56 2 years in a row, 97 and 98, and then 48. He had a stretch 4 years in a row, 49, 56, 56, 48, 40. I mean, unbelievable. And then, yeah, once he hit like 31, he started to miss games, 111, 70, 53, 83. So think about that, all those years that he lost, and he still hit 630 home runs, man. Yeah. So if he was clean, he would have been the all-time home run champion. Again, we're all guessing here, but you would think, all right, well, once he got into age 31, 32, that's when the body started breaking out, which is typical, right, for someone who's not using anything, whereas we saw Barry Bonds just get better with age, and we did not see that with Griffey. So look at 2001, where he's 31, he played on, look at the home runs decline, 8, 13, 20, 35, 27, 30, 18, 15. To his age 38 season. Even age 39 in 170 games, he had 19 home runs. So he probably would have definitely been the all-time home run leader had he been able to stay healthy.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk done better.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. Coop, over the break, we had a question come in from Illmind Jedi that I wanted to hit. He said, what do y'all think is the best TD celebration? I think it's Jaylen Waddle's Waddle, LOL. He's putting the Jaylen Waddle up there. Do you have any that stand out in your mind? Because the Waddle's tough to beat. And I cannot hear. I'm sure it is a phenomenal one.
Yeah. So for current celebrations, I mean, I've got some all-time ones. I think my favorite, most classic one was the one that LaDainian Tomlinson would do, where he would just go put the hand behind the head and just flick the ball like that, dude, because it was just precise every single time. He would just get in the end zone and just boom. It was
casual.
One I like right now is the Lions. He's a defensive player, so it's not always touchdowns. Sometimes it's big hits or whatever. But the Lions have this guy, Jerry. God damn it, no, I can't remember his name.
Springer.
Yeah, it's Jerry Springer. I think
Seinfeld?
it's Jerry Jacobs. I think it is, and he does a 6 seatbelt celebration, where he just like every time he makes a big play, he like takes the seatbelt, and he just goes bam, like dude, he just does this like boom, and it gets me fired up. I don't know what it is about it, but I love the seatbelt move. So
buckle up, baby.
Buckle up. It really is. It's like buckle up, baby. I don't know if anyone else out there has noticed this, but check it out. Because the other guys started doing it too on the defense, dude. Like just like bang. And it gets me amped up.
What was his name?
Jerry Jacobs.
Jerry Jacobs. I'm gonna look it up. I don't know about current, but one that stands out in my mind immediately whenever we talk touchdown celebrations was the David Njoku and Darren Fells Dragon Ball Z fusion dance celebration they did a couple years back. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
They get there in the end zone and they executed it perfectly. Like those dudes had been practicing, not just once or twice, like 50 times to execute that the way they did. There was precision in where their hands met. Like they were in sync. It's my number one. It was so good.
For the Patriots, I always liked you got to have a homer one. Everyone would go for the Gronk spike, but I liked the James White kicking down the door one. Well, actually, no, it was Ridley that would do that. He would go like this and like draw a door, and then he would kick it down with his foot. It was pretty bad.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild. Coop, I want to talk a little bit about this Packers-Eagles game last night. The Eagles came out on top, but we talked about Aaron Rodgers' injury a little bit already, but he left that game with what was originally reported as an oblique injury, but he came out afterwards after having x-rays done and said that it was a rib injury and that he was still in a ton of pain. Do you think we see Aaron Rodgers back out here on the field? Or is this something that's going to hold him out for a while?
It's always tough with those, man, because we've talked about this before. Even when it's not broken, it can be so painful when that cartilage is split that, it's all about pain tolerance at the end of the day. I think he's a tough guy. There's no question about that. Like he's already playing with like a broken thumb, right? So he's going to give it his all. But if he doesn't come back out, for next game, I don't see why they keep rolling him out. I mean, the team is as close to out of contention as you can kind of get at this point. So maybe the Jordan Love era has begun.
And he had a couple decent throws yesterday. Like he didn't look bad out there on the field. 6 for 9, 113, and 1 touchdown. And that touchdown, of course, went to Christian Watson, right? No, Christian Watson got hit for a pass from Aaron Rodgers. But Jordan Love, do you think this dude can cut it as a starting quarterback, or do you think this is just going to be a fill-in?
I mean, it's impossible to say because we haven't gotten to see him at all. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like Jimmy Garoppolo, where although we did see Garoppolo come in and play a couple full games and he looked decent enough that the 49ers were willing to trade for him. But, I think it was that span there where Brady was suspended is when Garoppolo played. But, Jordan Love hasn't looked amazing, but with that sample size, you can't possibly tell. I mean, Peyton Manning came out his rookie year and led the entire league in interceptions, and then he was awesome. So same with Trevor Lawrence, led the league in interceptions, and then now he's looking pretty decent. So it's hard to say. I think he should get a full shot. The problem is, and this is why it's so important for him to play at the end of this year, is they have a decision coming up this offseason. They need to either pick up his 5th-year option or not, right? Which means that they can get him, they can have him for 2 years or they can have him for 1 more year. So if he can play out this season and you get a good enough look at him to decide on that, that would be good for the franchise long term, for sure.
Yeah. Have you heard the rumors of an Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr trade between the Packers and the Raiders, swapping quarterbacks. Obviously, some other assets involved as well.
In
But
the
reuniting Devontae Adams in the offseason and Aaron Rodgers there out in Las Vegas.
That would be kind of awkward for Devontae Adams, considering the comments Devontae Adams made when he, approved the trade, because he had like the no trade clause stuff. Basically, he said, I've talked to Aaron about his plans, and I have bigger aspirations. I want to play for a long time, and no disrespect to the backup quarterbacks there or whatever, but I want to play for a long time, work on my legacy. So it'd be kind of awkward for him to be like, oh, I want to move on from this quarterback because I expect him to retire soon, only for him to follow him. That would be, I'm sure Adams would get over it pretty quick, but it seems kind of counter to what his plans were, right?
Yeah, 100%. Tommy's saying Carr is a good quarterback. Raiders need a defense. Offense is another problem. And I agree with you. I don't think Derek Carr's the problem, but
offensive line too. While we're shopping for things, Tommy.
an offensive line, a defense. And I don't think you'd complain about an Aaron Rodgers in Las Vegas if you got one over there.
Right. And now they also going to need a running back next year because, speaking of the fifth-year option, the Raiders opted not to pick up the fifth-year option on Josh Jacobs, who proved that he probably deserves it.
Yeah, they're losing that bet. If their bet was to try to get a cheaper deal, they're either going to have to tag that dude or pay up, give him a big deal.
Right.
You think he gets a big deal this offseason?
I do, because he's still super young too. Like, people think like he feels like he's been in the league for a long time, but he's 24 years old right now.
Young. I guess he came out early from Alabama.
Super early. Yeah. He turns 25 in February, but still, that's crazy. So he'll get paid.
I think of him as the same age as like the Christian McCaffreys for some reason. I put him in that same age range, which maybe now I'm realizing maybe I don't know how old Christian McCaffrey is, 26. So I guess that's about the same. But in running back years, 2 years or a year and a half is a lot older in running back years.
It's humongous, right? It's crazy. And that's why we talk about with Dynasty, you really want to lean into wide receivers if you have a long-term plan. Because we just talked about it the other day. Marvin Harrison had his first 1,000-yard season at age 27. And then he had 8 seasons in a row with over 1,100 yards and double-digit touchdowns. When running backs get to 27 in the NFL, we basically say they're dead. Coming into this year, there were only 2 starting running backs older than 27. They were Cordarrelle Patterson and Derrick Henry. So that's the dichotomy there, is that we've seen wide receivers do it at a high level for much longer. They say the age apex for wide receivers is like 27. So it's just crazy how different it works in this league.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely nuts. And that's why in Dynasty startups, I am totally fine leaving those drafts with my running backs looking like Samaje Perine, Alexander Madison, and maybe one of the old guys who's going like in the 12th round, like a Cordarrelle Patterson or a Melvin Gordon or something like that, because that's not the core I'm building. I build this core I can figure out running back through trades, through free agency, through the rookie drafts. But I've got that core that I feel comfortable with for like 5 years. You know what I mean? You can feel pretty good if you build a young, solid wide receiver and QB core on a team.
Exactly. And you wait to see who panics, right? And then you can buy the running back off them later.
Yep, 100%. Tommy in here saying that Carr held that team together last year with everything that was going on, Gruden, Ruggs. It was not a smooth year for the Raiders. And, dude, I agree. I'm with you. I think Derek Carr's a good leader and a good quarterback. But someone's taking the fall for this year. And from what we've seen, money talks, and it's not going to be Josh McDaniels. That it sounds like they're pretty locked into him. They don't have the cash to move on and get another coach in there. So I bet Josh McDaniels is there, and I'm not going to be shocked if Derek Carr is not a Raider next year.
Trying to turn over things as a coach is ridiculous, because most times you're switching to a whole new system. Like, I applaud Robert Saleh for taking the Jets and turning them from a 3-4 into a competitive 4-3 in like 2 years. But even then, like, you can't, as the famous Jim Harbaugh quote goes, you can't plant potatoes today and expect to be eating potato salad tomorrow. So when you, which is such a Jim Harbaugh quote, right? Like, maybe the best one, dude. But you come over and you got to try and teach these guys the Erhard Perkins system and find the right guys for this particular system. You got to give coaches at least a couple of years. So the whole bag on Josh McDaniels thing. No. Say that honestly, for the Broncos too, as bad as it's been, you have to give the guy a couple years.
You think you got to leave Hackett in there for a couple more years?
I think so. I think you got at least one more to see if the system is going to, if the system works. You got to give the guy a full offseason to acquire the pieces to run his offense,
Yeah, but man, with how much they gave up to get Russell Wilson over there, know what I mean? Like, I feel like the time frame for everything is shorter on the Broncos,
of course,
because of what they were expecting from him. But it's not that I disagree with the premise. I'm just not sure that dude's going to get it. Not sure he's going to get it.
That's why the Lions are genius to, if you want to hold on to your job as a GM and a coach, just hang on to Jared Goff as long as you can, and then blame it on Jared Goff and be like, oh, we get to at least try with one more quarterback. Like, you hold on to Goff for like 4 years, and then finally you're like, oh, well, it was his fault. So give us another 3 years with this new quarterback, right? Got to milk it, right?
You keep your scapegoat on staff, ready to go. Yeah, that's ballsy to come in as Nathaniel Hackett and be like, yeah, and give me Russell Wilson and watch what I can do.
We're going to win right now. We want the ball and we're going to win. Yeah, no, you're setting yourself up with that one, dude. You got to play the long game. Give yourself a few more years.
Incredible. Illmind Jedi wants to know, do you think the head coach of the Saints, Dennis Allen, is in hot water right now? Coop, do you think Dennis Allen's in hot water with what the Saints have done?
I mean, again, when the starting quarterback gets hurt, it's hard to really blame him. They're going to be in big trouble next year, though, because obviously Michael Thomas is done. Jarvis Landry's not getting any younger. Alvin Kamara is going to get suspended, right? He's going to start the season missing games. That team's in a hole. They lost Teron Armstead to the Dolphins. That team's kind of in a very weird spot right now. So I don't know. He could be in trouble, but
Coop, they're seeing the same things you are. Know what I mean? Like that team, the people in the front office, they're looking at what's going on for the Saints team. They see that same start to next year. They see the situation they're in. So you know what? I bet they leave Dennis Allen in for that stretch, even if they are considering, like, is this the dude? Is he going to be the coach? Like, why would you fire him and put someone new in there for that horrible stretch at the beginning? You can see what he can manufacture. Give him some more time in that system. Then also, if he performs the way you're expecting him to, nothing off your back.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on board with that move.
Guys, coming up, we got our friend Joey joining the show for the rest of today, and we are going to do a Monday Night Football prop bet draft. We've got some hypothetically coming up a bit later as well. And as always, we're going to be running through our hogs and logs from this past weekend. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Front Yard Fantasy, weekday mornings at 7 Eastern on Better Sports Network.
There was a tweet about the refs that had me kind of cracking up the other day because somebody was like, we have the technology to track the ball down to a centimeter and figure out, what speed these guys are running on the field. Yet somehow we still mark the ball by
That's my favorite.
A 60-year-old dude eyeballing it, and then we run over with literal chains and measure it. It's like, you think we can probably get that figured out.
The least precise way to measure something, and then immediately following that up with a super precise way of measuring something.
Yeah, it's like we have
like if you're a millimeter short of that chain that they bring out there, that they ran out it as best they could in a straight line. But if you first they just go here, and then they grab the chains and they run in the straightest line possible. But then if you are 1 millimeter short with that football, doesn't count. Sorry. Couldn't have been human error. You're just short.
That's exactly. And, they bring up the index card or whatever. Meanwhile, they have satellites in space tracking how fast Brandon Ayuk ran on an end around. But we can't,
and I can see that number live while he's doing it. Like I can see every player's speed on the screen live.
I love that. It's and not to mention that dude's trying to make the spot and the player always tosses the ball right into his face. Right? He's coming over to spot it, and it's every other time the player just here you go. Here's another thing to juggle.
On call with Dr. Roto.
If the Giants don't win another game this year, A, I'll be shocked. But B, I'll still think that they're better than they were with Joe Judge. Much better. Because I think Brian Dable's got a lot out of this team already. And I'm seeing what this team could be. See, that's the problem with owners and general managers. I see Nathaniel Hackett and I see a guy who can't get it done. I see Matt Rule and see a guy who never should have been hired. Disaster right away. Sometimes a good coordinator in the NFL is better. I don't even say sometimes. Most of the time, a good coordinator in the NFL is better than a college coach, because the NFL coordinators, they know the system. They've been there. They've played. They've been around it. For the life of me, I don't know why Eric Bieniemy hasn't gotten a job yet. Deuce Staley's going to get a job. Somebody's going to hire that dude. When you've been around the game, you understand it. These college guys come, they don't know it.
Join the show with one touch of a button. It's Sports Talk 3.0 on Better Sports Network.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Hey,
Welcome back
hey.
into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. Joining us now and for the remainder of the show, we've got Front Yard fan member and our great friend Joey Wright. What's up, Joey?
Not much. Oh my goodness. There it is. There's the morning in my throat. I am doing good.
Yeah.
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing
Hey.
great.
Let's go, dude.
Let's go.
I was feeling a little sleepy, man. A little Monday morning action, dude. But then I saw your bright and shining face. My goodness, I am back, baby.
Both of your bright shining faces and this little cup of black coffee are my saviors this morning.
Joey's
But no, I'm excited. I was up
recently-
late, like watching that game last night.
Joey's recently switched to black coffee, and he's a new man because of it. It's changed the game.
I am. I only wear black now. I'm basically Johnny Cash, basically.
Kind of dope, dude.
Man in black. The Man in Black, Joey Wright and Johnny
Here
Cash.
comes
One
Men in
and the same.
Black. Dude, the Men in Black song was stuck in my head. I was just telling them on last Friday. Was it last Friday? It was so stuck in my head, and then you just brought it right back. So,
Joey,
you for
right
that,
whenever you
Joey.
started talking, in the background, somewhere in one of the tabs I've opened, an autoplay video started playing, but it was the music like dun 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 dun. Like it was just this wildly dramatic music. And I was like, did Joey bring his own background music on the show?
Listen, I love that idea of like walk-up music or like entrance music from when we come on the shows. I think it's great. I used to be on a wrestling podcast, and the guy that hosted it did it, and it would pump me up every time. Not that I'm
Keith,
already pumped to come
Keith,
on here.
get on it, dude.
get it going.
Please. Get it going. Keith.
My senior year, we finally convinced my coach of our wrestling team to let us have walk-on songs at senior night, right? To like get out on the mat whenever they called us at senior night, like let us have walk-on songs. And he was like, fine. He was like, Grunewald, what song do you want? And I was like, Take It Off by Kesha. And he said, no walkout songs. And he walked out of the wrestling room, and nobody got to have walkout songs.
Oh my God.
I
What
just
would
thought
you-
that would have been really intimidating for the other person, right? If the guy walks out to Take It Off by Kesha just blaring, they'd be like, who the hell is this guy? Like, why does he have Kesha blaring?
Dude,
I think
feel
Coop was about to ask the big
I was
question
gonna-
of what. Yeah.
Well, what you would pick, Joey? What was your walkout song for the wrestling pod?
We had to pick a wrestler theme song. So it was
okay.
it was a wrestling theme song called Super Kick Party. And it was like lots of like, electric guitar and stuff. But
I've never heard it, but Super Kick Party, I can imagine.
yeah,
what it's
I'll send it to you. It's a banger. I put it on in the car sometimes and drive and just get excited for myself. But if I had to pick like a walkout song, I would pick the Rodrigo and Gabriella, or no, it's Gypsy Kings redid Hotel California, and it's like all stringy and stuff. Yeah, it's really good.
Coop, what would yours be? Tommy wants to know what all of our walk-off songs
Yeah.
would be. What would yours be?
Pretty easy, dude. It would be Junior, Senior, Move Your Feet. That's like everybody move your feet and feel united. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And it's like, don't stop. Can't stop the beat. I won't stop. Don't stop.
I can see you just walking out to that. Like it's a highly competitive environment. Everyone's getting pumped up, and Coop's just like, don't stop. Can't stop the beat.
Get
Robot
out.
now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Going up to the plate. And I'm just like, and then they're like, dude, can you please? Like they already called 2 strikes by the time I get in the batter's box.
I think mine now would have to be I Love It, Icona Pop, and Charlie XCX. The I don't care.
Yeah.
I love it. Like that song just gets me so pumped up. That's what I would walk out towards.
That was a big dance song at the Joey Wright wedding.
Was it?
That was like the peak of that song, and the dance floor was bopping for that one for sure.
Yeah, my
How's
song,
Coop walking out to the roller disco out there on the whatever playing surface this walkout song is for.
my song would be Echoes by Pink Floyd. And I would ask everyone to respect the fact that we had to wait until the actual words of the song started. I think the song itself is 23 minutes, and I don't think there's words. I don't think there's words for about 11.
Dale said, "Wait till I'm back on so I can play."
Yeah. Hal says 11 mins in. Yeah, I think that's right, Hal. So yeah, respect my
It's a
song.
slow
Please.
burn. Man, we got some other good ones in the chat. Scott Fish in here saying my walkout song is Beastie Boys Sabotage during the bridge into the scream coming out of the bridge.
There's a roller coaster in Orlando. You could pick your own music, and I always pick Sabotage by Beastie Boys because right as you do the drop is that part Scott Fish is talking about. And it's like, you want to jump out of the roller coaster. You're so excited.
So you guys have thought about this before then?
Oh,
clearly I did not.
I lay awake in bed thinking about what music when I want to walk into. Absolutely.
I practice when I'm home alone. I just like I have my TV connected to my Spotify. And so when I'm like in the bedroom or in the bathroom, I'll start playing the song. And then as I walk into the living room, I'm like hyping up like there's a crowd waiting for me in the living room. Just to like, you never know when you're going to be in a situation where you're walking into a room with a walk-up song. You want to be ready. We had some more answers in the chat. Craig said Lawyers, Guns, and Money by Warren Zevon for me. I do not know that one, Craig. I'm going to have to look it up after this. And Hal said Pantera Walk would be theirs as well. Man,
I would pick Duality by Slipknot. Just like I push my fingers into my eyes. Just get amped up, dude.
That relief pitcher for the Mets, man. Was it Timmy Trumpet? You know what I'm talking about?
I do not know what you're talking about.
What does he come out to?
The reliever for the Mets. He comes
Edwin
out
Diaz?
to the Oh, it's amazing. You got to go see it.
Yeah. Okay, no, I know what you're talking about now.
Edwin Diaz,
Edwin
that's
Diaz.
it. Edwin Diaz,
Yes.
Timmy Trumpet that he comes out to.
And I just want to say, I said Edwin Diaz out loud. I did not remember that name, nor do I know who that man is. That was producer Keith coming in. I just said it like, oh yeah, Edwin Diaz.
The baseball show now.
My mom coming in with a fire one saying, "This girl is on fire." Girl on Fire by Alicia Keys would be a top tier.
It would be top tier one for her, but it'd be kind of weird for like me.
It would work for Simon though.
It is on fire.
I think my background photo is still me recreate on Twitter. My banner photo is still me recreating the Alicia Keys album cover from Scott Fishbowl 11. I don't think I've changed it yet or updated it. I need to do that. I'll do that this week.
Don't do it.
Just imagine Simon, if you're like going to wrestle somebody, the reaction they would have if you came out to like My Humps. And then that dude's like, I got to wrestle this kid now.
Or some smooth jazz.
My Humps.
Coming out slowly, pulling your sling up.
Careless Whispers. We get George Michael. I've got a grilled cheese in each hand as I walk out onto the mat, cheese dripping all over my chest in my singlet.
I'm going to need a break.
Careless Whisper. I'm surprised we haven't been hit with the Careless Whisper yet. Producer Keith saying that Mets player Daniel Vogelback walked out to Milkshake. That was his song. I once watched a national player come out to the stanky leg and do the stanky leg in the box and then proceed to hit like a 400-foot home run. Like the third deck.
Dirty.
Yeah, they were losing by like 7 to the Red Sox. I was down there for a game, and these guy pinch hits into the game, meaningless game, and stanky legs, an absolute bomb, dude.
That's a moment you remember for the rest of your life. Know what I mean? That's a moment where you look like that was peak cool. Like I did the stanky leg, then hit a bomb like that. It doesn't get much better. Do you guys have any moments like that where you think back and you're just like, that was the coolest thing I ever did? Like it was a simple thing, but you're like, I will never be cooler or smoother than I was in that moment.
9 out of 10 of those are ones that no one would ever see. Like a time like I like dropped a glass in the kitchen and like kicked it back up into my hand. Like, and I looked around to see if anyone saw it and they never did. Dude. So but everyone has that moment where you catch the falling knife, you know?
I have one where I was at a haunted house with my girlfriend. We were standing in line, just chilling. And I see a guy with a t-shirt cannon and people aren't really noticing him yet. And he aims it over the crowd and shoots it. And just like without looking up, holding her hand, I just stuck my hand up, like didn't even move, just moved a hand, caught it and handed it directly to her. Like one motion. And I was standing there like, play it cool, Simon, play it cool. Cause that was the coolest thing you've ever done. Like no reaction, just like didn't act like I was crazy or anything for guy. It was just like, here you go. And I was like, and then like 10 seconds later, I was like, did you see that? That was so cool. Like I could only hold it together for like 10 seconds.
This is going to sound really nerdy. when I was in high school in theater. When we'd have a show, after the show, we'd have a cabaret night, and we could do like whatever we wanted. And that was actually what you looked forward to. Doing the shows was just bah, but the cabaret nights were fun. And me and a girl did the Dirty Dancing, like Time of Your Life. And I jumped off the stage like Johnny, and I've never felt so cool in my entire life. Like to this day, I've never been so cool as I was flying through the air. And we did the lift because at that time I had like muscles.
Gotta do
Yo, that moment sounds
it's-
incredible.
It was, but it's not. Like,
JL in here first saying X by Kendrick Lamar would be his walkout song. And now I'm combining these two stories. In Little League, he said he hit a walk-off grand slam after having a terrible slump, and his entire team didn't believe in him. Said, I'll never be that cool again. I was last in the batting order because the slump was so bad. And dude hits a walk-off grand slam with X by Kendrick Lamar playing in the background as he's 8 years old.
I could just see him. I could just see him coming back too after the home run, and people are trying to give him high fives, and he's just like, "Nah, dude, where were you? Where were you when I was 0 for 35, bro?"
And then the one coach who didn't believe him just stands up slowly and just starts the slow clap.
Slow clap, dude. Like the guy from Rudy. He's just like.
And then everyone clapped. That's how all these stories end, right? And then everyone clapped. Hal in here, man, that's not how I expected your sentence to start off. He said, we were once slaughtering quail for a bachelor party. And one got away. So I moved all the beers to one side and kicked the bird out of the air and picked it up off the ground. And later we ate it. That's a story.
Hey, what planet are you from, Hal?
Yeah.
You didn't slaughter quails at your bachelor party, Coop?
Nah, dude, not quite.
I'm going to have to add
we
that
slaughtered
to the
beers.
agenda. Beers or deers?
We slaughtered beers. We slaughtered the BLs. The beer part of the. How many beers do you have in your hands at the time? That like this story has a lot of questions.
I moved all the beers.
I took all 3 of the beers I was drinking.
I need a sport. Go ahead.
Yeah, how you just gave us like a peek of this story, and I have so many questions about it. I want to hear what the rest of the bachelor party was.
If we need a whole sports science episode on Hal's sentence right here. Breaking down every aspect of it.
I need a play-by-play of the bachelor party. What happened after you ate the quail? Like what happened after you ate the quail?
Did the bird die? Like when you kicked it to death? It kind of sounds like that. We picked it up off the ground.
Illmind Jedi in here saying, I think Brian Robinson coming back into action playing Mini Men by 50 Cent was legendary. That was legendary. That was incredible. And then Fly Philly Fly in here saying, Coop, Zay Jones went off yesterday. Were you a big Zay Jones believer yesterday?
We were talking about it in so Fly Philly Fly, welcome to the show this morning. He jumped into the chat yesterday with me and John and Pemba, and we were talking about it. And I asked John and Pemba, I was like, Zay Jones, do you trust him or not? Do you feel excited about him? Would you start Mac Hollins or him? We both said we start Mac Hollins. Turns out, dude, highly consolidated targets over there. Unfortunately, at the expense of my boy Evan Engram, who did not have a good game yesterday. But yeah, Zay Jones and Christian Kirk combined for over 20 targets. Zay Jones had 14 by himself. So
absurd.
Guys, Zay Jones, are you on the Zay wagon?
Yeah, I think he's startable week in, week out. He's not a guy I'm forcing into lineups, but with that target volume, you can't ignore it, right?
So I'm gonna dust off my old Kanye West themed team name from years ago when he first was on the Bills, and I heard him Zay.
There we go. There we go, guys. Joining us right now to give us a little bit more information about the quail fiasco at his bachelor party, Hal has called in to give us a little bit more. What's up, Hal? Can you hear us, my friend?
I can hear you guys. How are you doing?
Good, Hal. I got to hear more about this this quail situation here. You left me with more questions than answers.
Please start at the very beginning.
You're going to leave with way more questions. So my best friend and my brother's best friend owns 3 tattoo shops.
Perfect.
He decided to be a farmer. And so he's raising quail. My brother decides to get married, so we have a bachelor party. We slaughter 100 quail that day to wrap and bake and cook and eat for the party. But we got to get up at 6 a.m. to get started.
Right.
So by noon, when we start doing this, I'm bringing one of those 3 beers was for my brother, by the way. The other 2 are mine. I'm walking up to the cage as they're letting out the quail, and one of them flies away. It's full.
Get him back.
Are you kidding me? Right as we get to the part where the quail's flying away, Hal drops out.
What a
of
cliffhanger, dude.
You know what? He said, "Oh, you're going to leave with way more questions."
And
then
we
he
are.
leaves. And then he drops. He says, "I'm out of here."
Yeah, like
Hal knows what he was doing.
Yeah, we got to get him back on. Keith, please get him back. Did they get tattoos? I mean, what's the situation? 100 birds? They ate 100 birds?
They had 100 birds. That's all they were doing right there. Maybe we get them back in here in a second. Tommy said Hal is awesome, not for specifically killing the quails, just awesome. Oh, I think we got him back here coming up in a second. Man, if that was the end of that story, if that was all we got, I was going to be sorely disappointed.
No. We got to get.
I think we got him back coming up here right now.
The show will go on.
All right, am I back, boys?
We got you, Hal.
All right, so knock the quail out of the air, grab it up off the ground, walk it back to the pen. We do the deal with the quail, start cooking them. We eventually wrap about 3 trucks around a tree you couldn't get 6 guys' arms around it to yank it down. Take that out in the backfield and burn it so that we have light to play our horseshoe tournament. There's about 65 people at this bachelor party out in the field until the light came out in the morning. And we're all looking around at each other like, maybe it's time to quit drinking.
You yanked a tree down?
A stump party with 1,000 or 100 slaughtered quail wrapped in bacon. Is that what you said?
Oh, yeah. We ran out of firewood, so we were just driving trucks out in the woods, pulling trees out.
That's amazing.
It had to have been the most hillbilly thing ever. Yeah. And you're talking about, like, tattoo artists aren't exactly hillbillies.
No.
So it's a very eclectic mix of people doing this randomness.
That's the best, though.
It was so fun.
That's
I didn't
badass,
expect it to get better, but that story just kept getting better. And you very casually said, so I knocked the quail out of the air. You know, the flying bird. How the hell did you knock a flying bird out of the air?
Okay, so let me tell you this. I will fall down standing up. I can't chew bubble gum and breathe. So when I knocked this bird out of the air without spilling a beer, with 3 beers in one hand, picked it up off the ground all nonchalant like I just had planned it, it was the most ninja thing I've ever done, ever will do. And if my brother and my best friend hadn't seen it, no one would ever believe it. I used to run into poles while walking through the grocery store.
That is legendary, bro. Legendary.
Those are the moments where you lay in bed at night sometimes and you're just like, man, that was cool. Like, man, that was freaking
This was before
cool
kids. I still tell my kids.
Yeah. That's the story.
I would tell that story.
All right, guys, have a good one.
You too, Hal. Thanks so much for calling in and telling us that story.
So is anyone else playing the game? What store is Hal in? Because I think I got it figured out.
Home Depot was my guess.
I think it was PetSmart.
Really? I saw orange at the very beginning.
I saw a Purina logo, and then I saw a fish thing. So I'm like, he's in a pet store.
The ceiling was kind of high for a pet store, though.
I think it was Walmart. That's where I'm going with.
Ooh,
that's my final. I've spent a lot of time. Oh, Meyer Grocery. We were all wrong.
Okay.
It was Myers Grocery. JL in the chat said, LMAO, you the man, Hal. For real, Hal. Absolutely the man for coming up and telling us that story. That one was beautiful. That's exactly the kind of story I was looking for, though.
Yep.
Right? Like, that's exactly the kind of story we were looking for.
The ninja quail.
Ninja quail. Joey, before we get into this draft, I did want to ask you about something from this game last night that we were talking about a little bit earlier. Christian Watson is now leading the NFC North in touchdown receptions. He's got more than Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson. Dude is a monster. Are you buying into Christian Watson rest of season?
I am after last night. Yesterday, I spoke that I think Allen Lazard's still the wide receiver 1 on this team, and I do think there was a shift. Love looked like he did favor Lazard a little more, but I expect Rodgers probably going to be back. Christian Watson looks like the real deal. I'll have to say, I've seen enough now.
Yep, I agree with Joey. I mean, this, and it's, to me, like we have these moments. The NFL season is such a small sample size. Even with the full season, it's a small sample size game compared to like baseball, where you play this many games over the course of 2 weeks, right? And there's a million pitches and everything. So you have these moments, like when I saw David Njoku coming out against the Patriots and have a reasonable game, I was like, we can trust this guy. And Christian Watson coming out facing Darius Slay and James Bradbury and getting it done, like Joey said, like he's probably seems like he's for real. We can trust this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can trust him. Also, looking like a monster. You said his name, David Njoku. That touchdown catch was just glorious. Like it was one of those ones where I just went like, ooh, like it wasn't even like a jump out of your seat. It was just like, that's a dirty touchdown catch right there. Like that man earned it.
It's one of those ones where like my wife is like doing laundry and I'm like, Kate, get out of here. By the time she gets in here, she missed it. And then she's like, what? And I was like, oh, it was like a really cool play. And she was like, okay. And she's got like wet clothes like in her hands. And she's like, can I go now? Like it was one of those plays.
My girlfriend's a good sport with those because every week there's a couple where I'm like, you got to watch this. Yeah. And instead of saying like, hey, I don't care at all, she says like, oh, let me see. And then she'll like ask a follow-up question or say, and I'm like, thanks for being nice about it. Cause I was really excited and no one else lives here. And Sancho, my dog, doesn't speak English.
She treats you like
he speaks Spanish.
She treats you like when you like ask a kid, you're like, tell me about your favorite TV show. And he's like telling you about this episode of like Blue's Clues or something. Like that is kind of how it goes. My wife has no problem with watching the clips, but as long as they're actually on when she comes over. On this particular one, it was no longer on the TV.
That's the worst. When you're like, hey, watch this. Oh, I'm sure they'll show the replay in a second. Like, yeah, you just wait 1 second. The replay show, and then it's like 4 more plays. They don't show it. Then it cuts to the Thumbtack commercial where there's a talking thumb, and you're like, huh. I guess I'll just show you later.
She does that to me though, and she does it with Snapchat. And then she'll be like, you gotta see this. Come here. And I'll go, and then she'll be like, oh, it was a Snapchat. And then I'll be in trouble because I missed it. Like somehow I get in trouble because it disappeared before I could get there. So yeah, not a big Snapchat fan.
Well, the Snapchat is fleeting. The Snapchat is fleeting, Coop. It's gone.
That's poetry.
It's gone forever. That play will be available on the internet probably forever. You can go find it. You can show it to her.
I found it very shortly after.
You're like, don't worry, Kate. I got you. We're gonna show you this right here. Guys, coming up, we've got a Monday Night Football prop bet draft that we are going to run through, and we're going to be talking some hogs and logs as well. And as always, if you've got fantasy football questions for us, throw them in the chat. We would be happy to answer them for you. Or you can hit that call-in button on the BSN app. Head on over to the app, hit call-in, come on up here live on air, ask us your questions, give us your hot takes, or tell us your quail slaughtering stories. Whatever you got for us, we want to hear it. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on the Better Sports Network.
Join Corey Nando and friends presented by Mayo Media weekdays at 3 Eastern on Better Sports Network.
Darren Ravel's here. I love tickets, man. That is my bet. I have a very hard time selling many of them, even if I know I'm going to make a ton of money. I just love the idea of the stories that tickets tell.
You know, Darren, that's interesting because I got a ticket I was at Nats Park the night when Albert Pujols hit his 400th home run. And I remember saying to myself, I'm going to save the ticket, but I don't know where. I can't find it. And then when you mentioned
that's exactly the problem.
Yeah.
Not only did the people who say they're, because you didn't have a bulletin, like it's unlike cards, right? There's no place to put it naturally. Is it in your wallet? Is it in your shoebox? Is it on a bulletin board? Like that's been the problem. Like I have tickets that I got that like you could literally tell. I have one right here, the Jimmy Connors Aaron Crickstein match. Right, the 5-setter, and you can literally tell that this was put on a bulletin board. You know, that's how it was saved. There's dots in there. But even the kids outside the ballpark that had the great idea as entrepreneurs to say, I'm going to ask people for $5, will you sell me the ticket? Those guys couldn't even hold on long enough for this market to hit. Like those guys had the foresight and it still didn't work. So that's part of the complexity of tickets, which are so cool.
Front Yard Fantasy, weekday mornings at 7 Eastern on Better Sports Network.
We are joined by a very special guest now. We've got sports radio legend. We have Scott Farrell with us.
You know, it's weird. I'm not a collector of, sports memorabilia.
Yeah.
The only things I've said on the air that I've ever kept in my life were, I have millions of jerseys and all that nonsense, but I have 50 years of Sports Illustrated magazines, and I had the Len Dawson autograph. I have Lemieux autograph pictures, because I'm good friends with Mario Lemieux. And I also have valuable pictures of Bill Mazeroski hitting the Game 7 1960 World Series 9th inning home run to beat the Yankees. So I'm a Pirate fan for life, but I love the Yankees too because I've lived in New York for 25 years now. My favorite player my whole life, though, strangely enough, my entire life was George Brett of the Royals. I love George Brett. from the day I saw him play. Back in the day when guys actually hit close to 400 every year, instead of these guys making 50 million hitting 210 with 5 home runs. All the wussies in Major League Baseball today, they're not like they used to play. Back in the day, guys like George Brett, Rod Carew, Pete Rose, those guys.
I don't know how many 98 mile an hour sliders those boys were seeing back then. Though.
Listen, if you hit 300 every year of your career and you're in Cooperstown, I don't want to hear it.
Better Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. We are about to get into our Monday Night Football Prop Bet Draft. If you guys have not joined us for one of these before, this is where we go through and we draft prop bets from Monday night. Whoever hits the most is our winner. The other two have to pay out on an impression bet. We'll have to figure out how we're going to get this done. I was running through a little bit of the one from Friday to see who came out on top. We're going to have to wait for JL to get back to pay out on it. But so far, it wasn't good for us on what I had gotten through. Only one person had hit on one through the first 6, and that was you, Coop, on the Jeff Wilson anytime TD was the only one that had hit through the first 6 of those. But we'll finish grading those, and we'll determine the results and pay out that bet tomorrow, Wednesday, maybe another day this week. We'll figure out what's going on. Joey, I'm going to let you decide. This is snake draft style. All the props from tonight's game are available. Do you want to go first, second, or third on this prop bet draft?
I want to go first. There's one I really love. So
Joey wants to go first. Coop, do you want to go second or third?
I want to go second.
Coop wants to go second, and then that means I guess I got the turn down there, which I'm a little bit scared about because there were 2 that I really liked, and I have a bad feeling that you guys might be taking them. Joey, you've got the first overall pick. Where are you going with the first pick in this prop bet draft for the Steelers-Colts game tonight?
The Matt Ryan is a quarterback. He's at home tonight for the Colts. I am smashing that over 236.5 yards. Matt Ryan indoors prior to the Eagles game averaged 308 yards per game. That's the easiest. I mean, I've got 70 yards of leeway there. Like, I'm so excited. I'm smashing that. If you've got money, go put it down on that, please. Like, wow.
That's a great pick.
Yeah.
I like that one. I like that one a lot. And
Joey, that one was on my list for sure. I'm with Coop. Great pick. I wanted to add Matt Ryan pass yards to my bracket, but I guess that's not happening today. You took it from me.
So with the last draft we did, what I did was basically just spitefully pick all of Simon's top picks for the week, right? So he loved Rachaad White. I took him. He loved Jeff Wilson. I took him. So I wanted to go second in this draft to protect the one from this game that I do actually have and care about. Do you know what it will be?
Pat Freiermuth over receiving yards.
Pat Freiermuth over receiving yards. I see. This is how you play defense, Simon. The offense is the best defense. That's what you should have got one of your boys at least last week. So I'm going to take Pat Freiermuth over 46.5 receiving yards. Here's the thing is he's been getting a 30% target share, all that going on. Here's the crazy number. His over-under is set higher than Deontay Johnson's. Deontay Johnson at 43.5. So even Vegas is sitting there saying, hey, the trends are the trends, man. We got to fade this guy a little bit. So I like Muth over here. The Colts have not been a good defense versus the tight end. Shaq Leonard's been kind of on and off, lingering ankle issues. I'm not sure. He's probably not going to be back. I think he actually was sent to the IR. So he's on the IR. He can't play this week at all. So I like Muth a lot this week. Yeah, like I said, I had him at the tight end 3, I think, on the week.
The first 2 picks I wanted were Matt Ryan over passing yards and Pat Freiermuth over receiving yards. Those were the first 2 picks I wanted. I expressed my concerns that they would be gone by my pick, and they were. I'm with you guys. I think those are the 2 slam dunk picks here, which means maybe that's good news for me because the ones I think are slam dunks generally don't hit. But what I'm going to do, Joey, I'm going to piggyback off of you a little bit.
No,
because
don't
I
do
agree.
that.
I think Matt Ryan's going to have a great game. And I think Mr. Paris Campbell is going to be a benefactor of that. I wish there was a receptions prop for him because I feel a little bit more comfortable in that regard, but there is not a receptions prop for Paris Campbell. But when I look at Paris Campbell 42.5 receiving yards or Michael Pittman 66.5, I feel more comfortable with the Paris Campbell 42.5 receiving yards. Dude has been a favorite target of Matt Ryan whenever he's been healthy and playing ever since the coaching staff said we have to get him more involved. So I am going to go with Paris Campbell over 42.5 receiving yards. To Joey, if yours hits, then I feel pretty good that mine's going to hit as well. Know what I mean? Like if Matt Ryan hits that 240 passing yards, I have a pretty good feeling that Paris Campbell hits that 42.5 receiving yards as well.
That was going to be my next one. I had it pulled up.
Would have been a nice little stack, Joey. But that's the risk of going first. There's a lot of picks need to be made before this. I think you got the better end of the deal, Joey. Still, but
thank you,
man. And then where do I want to go here? You know where I'm going to go. No, there's not enough juice on that. The Kenny Pickett under 1.5 touchdowns is at minus 245. That's cheap. That's a little bit too heavy for me to pick that one. I won't do that.
Perhaps we should stay under minus 200.
Yeah,
I think you can go with anything that's like maybe under minus 200 is probably fine.
Okay. Then here's what I'm going to go. I'm going to go with a Kenny Pickett interception at minus 120. I'm going to say Kenny Pickett, yes, throws an interception at minus 120. Get Kenny Pickett in there. I know he's been a fairly safe quarterback, hasn't been throwing many touchdowns. But this game, I kind of expect the Colts to come out here and look pretty decent, get a little bit of a lead here on the Steelers. Maybe Pickett has to throw the ball a little bit more. And we see an interception from him. So I've got Paris Campbell over 42.5 receiving yards and Kenny Pickett with an interception.
I like those. Yeah, that's all. I mean, Kenny Pickett, dude, he's only thrown one touchdown pass in the last 3 games. That's pretty rough, dude. That's pretty rough.
I went to those passing touchdown props to check it out, but I was like, yeah, checks out. They're on the same train as we are. Would you have taken, like, if they had Kenny Pickett half a touchdown as the line?
Under, probably.
Under?
I mean,
would you take?
He's played like 8 games. He has 3 touchdown passes. I mean, the odds are not that good for him to throw one. But I don't know. Muth is in a good spot, so it could happen for him. But I don't know if I would pick any of the Kenny Pickett ones. Too unpredictable.
Too unpredictable. Well, Coop, it is your pick now. You're back on the clock. I did pick a Kenny Pickett one, but you got free reign of the board. Whatever you want is yours, except for something that's already been taken.
Yeah, I've got one that I think is pretty safe. And these safe ones, usually, these are the ones that come back to get you. But Jaylen Warren's been ruled out already for this game, which leaves the Steelers pretty thin. And Jaylen Warren, when he would play, it would be on passing downs. He's a really good pass blocker. I've actually seen a bunch of clips of him just burying people in the pass blocking game, but he's not going to play. So for me, the Najee Harris line of over under 2.5 receptions.
Yeah.
I mean, last game he had 6 targets. Like these are his last games, right? 4 targets, 3 targets, 4 targets, 6 targets, 1 target, and then 6 targets. So, if he can just get 4 or 5 targets, he should be able to catch 3 balls. I'm going, give me the Najee Harris over 2.5 receptions.
Najee Harris over 2.5 receptions. I like that one, Coop.
And you have to pay for it. That's one. Then my next one I won't take because that one is minus 165. So it is a slam dunk bet, and you have to pay up if you want that. So for anyone out here there, because we never do this, anyone out here that doesn't gamble a ton, when we say like minus 165, minus 120, what that is essentially how much money you have to bet to win $100, right? So for this one, you have to bet $165 to win 100, right? So if it's the reason we say you can't pick anything that's better than minus 200 is basically $100 to win 50. Now, vice versa, if you pick something that's plus 200, then it's $100 to win 200. So when we talk about these lines, anyone that's not really particularly familiar, that's what we mean. So I figure we might as well explain it one time if we're going to talk about it every show.
Great. As soon as because I work in this industry, as soon as a state goes live, someone I knew from like high school or college texted me and goes, yo, I just downloaded the Sportsbook app. What the hell do all these numbers mean? Like every single time. Like it's like when a state goes live, when mobile sports betting becomes legal, I'm guaranteed to get a text or two just like, hey, what does minus mean? Like, I don't know what the hell this means.
You know what we could do to kind of take this to the next level? Not today, of course, but we could potentially make a rule where like you're allowed to pick one that's a super favorite as long as you then come back and pick one that's a super dog. And like, at the end of the day, you have to add it up where it's like if you have
Or
to be within 100.
We give you a budget as well. And when you pick your prop, you pick the amount that you put on it as well. Right. And then based on the odds of that prop, there's a payout. Whoever makes the most money is the winner.
Now you're talking.
We could do something like that, right? Like everyone gets $1,000 to place on these, $1,000. We do it. Whoever gets the most moolah out of that is our winner.
That is the way to maximize the FOMOs for this crew, because then we're going to actually know how much money we could have won. You know what I mean? Like we'll ignore the weeks where we would have lost $1,000 and we'll sit there and be like, dude, had I actually placed these bets, I would have won $3,000. Oh man, next week, like we're that'll truly maximize the FOMOs from this experience. Would it not?
100%. Also, JL in here, he said, I texted Simon that last week, whenever it went live in Maryland. And then also saying he banned Dustin from the chat. Pocket banned him. So Dustin has been put in timeout in the chat from JL's pocket. Dustin, I'm so sorry, my friend.
That's funny because last week I was like, get him out of my sight. And then I think it was Craig that actually did ban him as a joke, but Dustin keeps getting banned by accident, which is hilarious, actually.
Scott Fisher, I'm imagining Simon with a network of friends across the country now, like minions, waiting for him to signal, it's time. It's time. Download.
I bet Simon's got a couple minions in his basement.
I don't even have a basement.
That's what you tell people, right?
Yeah.
I don't
fallen for that before.
Basement, but there is a crawl space that I didn't even know was accessible.
There we go.
Until we thought the dog we were dog sitting escaped. I'm running around the neighborhood like a madman for an hour. I sprint like 3 miles trying to find this dog. And I get a call from my girlfriend, like, I hear barking from under the house. And I'm like, you can't get under the house. There is no under the house. The dog was under the house, found an entrance, crawled under. It just absolutely absurd.
Silly puppy.
And that's when the dog finds a bone under there. And that's the start of like a Netflix original murder series, probably, right?
Something like that. Joey, I believe it is your pick. You've got 2 back-to-back here. Which way are you going?
So I like a good narrative. I think we all know that. And so I'm going to kind of ride the Matt Ryan's going to have a good game narrative into the Colts having a good game and going over 20.5 points in this game. Feels pretty safe. Do you guys like that?
Yeah. Colts, so this is just a single team line, right? Just the Colts.
Yes.
Line, right? Oh, I like that.
20.5.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm going to go over on the 20.5. And if the Colts have a good game, Matt Ryan has a good game, that means Pittsburgh might be trailing. So I don't think George Pickens getting 4 receptions is out of the question. So I'm going to go over 3.5 receptions on George Pickens.
Whoa.
It's a number he hit it last week. He hit it a little bit earlier this season. Been a little bit of stumbling here and there, but I feel pretty good about it.
Joey skipping down narrative street with all his eggs in that basket. Yeah.
I love it.
Both shoelaces untied. one basket full egg. Joey, I've done that before, by the way. Exactly what you're doing. I was like, I stacked all. I was like, I took a running backs over and anytime touchdown. And then on the flip side, I was like, yeah, because they're gonna dominate. And then the team outright lost. They didn't run the ball at all. 0 for 3. So just be careful with those. That's how I do a Scooby-Doo impression.
I've hit 2 of the 5-leg parlays like that this year. Just like, okay, let's go down narrative street. Let's predict how this game's gonna go, and it's worked for me. So
there you go, dude.
I'm gonna ride.
I think narrative-based analysis gets a bad rep. There's a time and place for it, but narratives are a thing for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes you have to understand the context of what's going on. Don't rely just on it, but you got to know the context of what's happening in these games. And so the narratives can play a big part in your decision making.
Speaking of the context, I'll jump in. Tyson Carter just said, what's up with Mitchell being used way more than CMC? Well, Tyson, you got to look at the context on that one as well. And it's not that he's being used way more. It's basically that CMC is getting all the pass work and then they're splitting the run work, right? So when you get a game like the Texans, who everyone can just run all over, like, your team is able to run more. So when you get a game like the Cardinals where you're winning 38-10, there's a lot more carries to be had, right? So I think in these games, that's kind of what you're seeing. Yesterday, CMC got 11 carries to 7 for Elijah Mitchell. So I wouldn't say it's way more, right? I mean, it's not even more.
No, but he is, to Tyson's point, we're seeing a lot more work for Elijah Mitchell than people maybe imagine. And yesterday, I believe we saw a report that Christian McCaffrey irritated his knee during the game yesterday. That was per Kyle Shanahan. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey's knee irritation happened in today's game. That came out at 6:55 p.m. yesterday from Kyle Shanahan. So that could have played into his usage as well. This is a team that is trying to win a Super Bowl and probably doesn't have to do too much to make it to the playoffs at this point. You know what I mean? They are one of the favorites to make the playoffs. They've got a great team. They've got two great backs. So they're going to try to keep both of them healthy. And to Jay's point, yeah, Mitchell got hurt as well in this game. They both aggravated something. So I don't expect Christian McCaffrey to just get every single carry. They've got Super Bowl aspirations, and they're going to try to keep their stars healthy if they can while still winning games.
Yeah, San Francisco moved ahead of the Seahawks yesterday.
It's wild that the Seahawks lost last night. Shout out Tommy. Great win by the Raiders. Just absolutely incredible.
We missed the big run at the end because we were on the show that night, and I looked over to my screen and saw that my Josh Jacobs share that I had gone from 25 points to 52 points. And I'm like, I texted Simon. I was like, something has happened. I don't know what. And so we sadly missed it when it happened.
I will say,
said the whole country missed it.
It's been a bumpy road, but I mean, the Raiders' last two games been winning in spectacular fashion. Flipping the coffee table fashion. So
an 86-yard walk-off touchdown run in overtime is about as good as it gets, right? Like that play is singularly exciting. Even if they're down 20 during the second quarter, that play is exciting. And to have that happen in overtime to seal the deal, just, man, that's fun.
The week before that, they won in overtime on a Devontae Adams 35-yard touchdown in overtime, right? So you didn't think you'd get more exciting than that. It gets twice as exciting because that play was twice as far, right?
Raiders fans having fun the past couple weeks. They deserve it. Coop, you're up for the next pick. Which pick are you taking? Your last pick of the day.
My last pick of the day. So I kind of I was going to take a team total prop, but I was going to take the Steelers under, but I don't feel like doing that now because it leans too much into what Joey has already selected. I kind of want to take. I kind of want to double down on. I kind of want to take that Deontay Johnson over receiving yard total too at 43.5. No, I'm actually not going to take that. I'm not doing it. Give me a Michael Pittman. Give me Michael Pittman over 66.5 yards.
I don't mind it.
Go with the big dog going up.
Michael Pittman over. It's 66.5, right?
66.5. Yeah. And that kind of hedges against Joey a little bit.
So we both got, one of us is probably at least going to hit with you having Michael Pittman over 66.5, me having Paris Campbell over 42.5. If Joey hits, then one of us likely hits as well.
I feel like you guys are going to be rooting for me to win this.
Alec Pierce, 180-yard game. Alec Pierce and Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah, it's just Alec.
I was building a lineup this morning. I feel like Mo Alley Cox is going to be my cheap player because I can get like Jonathan Taylor, George Pickens, Matt Ryan, like all the Freiermuth I can get in there, but I just got to settle with Mo Alley Cox. I think I'm just going to take my lumps.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Mo Alley Cox is that, yeah, they ask him to block a ton, but he's also a gigantic former basketball player. So when he, go back and watch the clips of him catching touchdowns, man, that guy can rebound a touchdown at any point. So I don't mind that play if you're going to go somewhere with
Would you rather play Jelani Woods or Mo Alley Cox?
No,
I could play either.
You can't play Jelani Woods. If anything, I would actually play Kylan Granson after Mo. So I have Mo ahead, and then I have Kylan after, just based on snaps and like routes run. But Jelani's he's not really playing. Last game, Kylan Granson ran 18 routes, Mo ran 17, but Mo plays more snaps. It puts him in a better position to catch one of those like play action close to the end zone touchdowns. Mo, because he'll be out there for those snaps. Kylan Granson plays. He's like kind of like an Anthony Ferkser type guy where he only plays pass plays and just sucks. Very disappointed by Kylan Granson.
I would feel better about playing Mo Alley Cox now.
Yeah, now you got to get him in there.
When Coop talks about tight ends, it does one of two things. You're either like, oh shit, I gotta go change my lineup, or like, oh, I feel a lot better about my lineup right now. Like, oh, I better go get Robert Tonyan out of there after what Coop just said. For my last pick here, I'm not getting too cute. I'm going with the stud in this game, Jonathan Taylor, over on his rushing yards total. It's fairly high, set there, I believe, at 83.5, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 83.5 rushing yards for Jonathan Taylor. But the dude's fully capable of doing that against the bottom half Pittsburgh Steelers rush defense. Now, I know they weren't healthy for the first half of the year, so they've been a little bit better recently, but I still like Jonathan Taylor's odds to get that done. So I'll take Jonathan Taylor over 83.5 rushing yards. JT, get it done for me, please.
Yeah. Anytime.
Please.
I mean, like the guys in the conversation for best offensive lineman in the league, you know, you talk about Trent Williams, Quentin Nelson's got to be right there, right? Like he's still a super mega star, that player. So if you can take a good back running behind that player, usually a pretty good bet.
A good back, yeah. And that's the understatement of the century for Jonathan Taylor, right?
He's
just a good back.
He's pretty good.
He's a good back.
Quentin Nelson,
guys,
he's not bad.
About to join us right now, the guy who has now been banned from the FYF chat twice in the last week, our friend Dustin coming up, and maybe he can tell us a little bit about what's going on with these Bills as well, because it has not been the Bills team we have been used to seeing. What's up, Dustin?
It's a criminal.
I just want to say this is baloney. I come into the chat today talking about how Simon's got top 20 score in Scott Fishbowl playoffs. Even gave some love to that no good Dolphins fan, Tim. You know, and I get banned. I don't know. I'm a menace one day.
I forgot why you even got banned last week. I was just like, get him out of the chat, but I don't even remember what you said.
You guys crap about Blue and Blue being a
flavor.
favorite.
The Gatorades, yeah.
Dustin, here's
for
what
that
happened.
For that, you might have deserved to get banned.
JL and Jay are sitting there, and they're just so jealous about my first round Scott Fishbowl playoff performance. So whenever you came in there and said that, I'm sorry you got caught in the crossfire of that jealousy. They took it out on you for bringing it up, but you know what? I'll address it with them. We'll make sure it doesn't happen again. Until next week.
Hey, and just FYI, Kyle Granson's doubtful tonight with an illness. He's been battling some sort of sickness all week, so he might not play. So I like Mo Alley Cox tonight.
They've all been all over the place. Like Jelani's been hurt. Is Jelani still out too? Jelani's out.
They say he's going to play. So,
but he's still a rookie, and he consistently plays fewer snaps than the other players. So
yeah, he got a full practice in this week. He still got that shoulder injury, but they did list Kyle Granson as doubtful for the game tonight with an illness. So I like it, Joey. Fire up your Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah, I was excited when he was like, I had to fill in the spot, and that's the name that was there. I was like, okay.
Mo Alley Cox is sitting at plus 480 for an anytime touchdown score on the FanDuel Sportsbook. You like that? Sitting there at plus 480, decent enough odds to put some cash behind that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's like almost $20 to win 100, right? Like that's I could deal with that. I can live with that.
Dustin, while we got you here, I still believe this Bills team is the best team in the NFL from top to bottom, but they have not looked like it recently. Almost got beat by the Lions on Thanksgiving. Is this a case of this team just not being healthy right now? Or what's been going on with the Bills?
Yeah, it's injury. And I said that, months ago when I called him that injury is going to be the thing that derails them. We have a ton of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, which is not helping us because we have to keep scoring points. We can't run. We want to run the ball right now with Josh Allen's elbow being iffy. And we can't do that because we're in these tight games where we have to pass. When we're playing from behind, having to play catch up, having to win last minute. Rushing's down 3%, so they were at 60% passing's down. They were at 60% passing. They're at like 57 the past few weeks. So down a little bit, run the ball a little more with the elbow, but I think they want to get it down even further. But they got to stay healthy. I said on a podcast that Von Miller's injury is twofold, right? We lose Von Miller, which is hurting us in the defense, but that also probably hurts us a lot in the OBJ chase. If he's not out there, I'm not sure he's making a big push. Hey, come play, because he's not playing with him there. Like he's there, but he's not really there. Sounds like Odell Beckham's probably going to the Cowboys or the Giants.
Boo.
I know, boo. I want him on the Bills. I think had Von Miller still been active and playing and healthy and be more engaged, I think he makes that bigger push. I think the injury now sidelines Von Miller attention, so he's focusing on rehab, getting back together, not making that push for Odell Beckham. We could really use Odell Beckham.
That's what I was going to ask. Are you in on getting Odell back into the Bills? You'd be excited about that?
I am not an Isaiah McKenzie fan. I can't stand the guy on the field. he drops the ball all the time. He just makes goofy plays. Like, instead of just running forward, he runs side to side. Like, I think he's a great dude. His interaction on Twitter is great. I just don't want him on the field. I want another guy. I would love to get OBJ there. I think that would help our team out a lot. But I still think we're one of the top 5 teams in the NFL. I don't know if we're the best team. The Eagles look really good last night. Miles Sanders, who I'm a big believer in, is looking really well. He's having a career year. It's hard to go against them right now. But I still think we have a chance of winning the AFC East. Mike White looked great, but he's Mike White. He's not an NFL starting quarterback. The Dolphins still look good, but they have some weaknesses. We can beat them. Now, we have a stretch coming up of 3 games in the AFC East. The Bills do. We had Jets, Dolphins, Patriots. If we win those 3 games, we have a real good shot of winning that division. And that number 1 seed in the AFC is still available for us. So I'm still hopeful that we're doing pretty good around the right track.
Yeah.
The Bills, I was going to say the Bills crush at home, and especially once it gets cold at the Ralph there. I mean, I think you guys are 5-1 at home this year, and you definitely want teams to come up there. So winning those games is crucial for the Bills. Getting that 1 seed means more for some teams than others. Like when you play in a dome, maybe it doesn't mean as much compared to making people come up and play in Buffalo.
When you play outside in Buffalo, New York, for sure.
Yes.
Don't want to go to Orchard Park in January.
No.
But he does. I mean, I wish that game would have been there, against the Browns in the snow, but he got moved to Detroit, but we still won both those games. So we'll see. I mean, we got all 3 coming in, to play, and then we got Patriots last week of the season to close out our division. I said we'd go 4-2 in the division. We're already 0-2, so we just got to win out. All right.
There you go.
Right on
and
track.
you know what? This is all part of the plan. You got to have that adversity stretch of your season. Only the Dolphins in 1972 didn't have that adversity stretch. All these other teams, you got to face some adversity during the season, figure out how to navigate through it. And I'm buying into that narrative that they're going to be a better team for it, getting through this, because they're a playoff team. And if they can get healthy at the right time, man, I'm cheering for them, Dustin.
So you think they're doing it, Simon? They're doing all this just to make that, like when they sell those DVDs after you win the Super Bowl, just to make that a little more dramatic for everybody?
Exactly. Yeah. It's got to be a story.
Boom, boom. And it's like there's the dark part of the story before things turn around for the protagonist.
I need a shirtless Ryan Fitzpatrick in January too. I need that for
and getting Singletary, getting the running game going right now is going to be key for them. If they can get Singletary hot, get James Cook involved, going into the playoffs, I think that's going to be huge for him.
Absolutely. Dustin, I want to thank you so much for coming up here, and we will do our best not to get you banned again. I'm gonna speak to some people and make sure it doesn't happen.
No promises.
No, Dale reached out to me on Discord and was like, "I hate you. You're getting banned every day." So I don't know.
He actually added it to my duties every week. So
yeah, just ban
me. Dustin, have a good one, my man. Thanks so much for calling in.
Thanks for calling in.
Brother.
I'm gonna go ban him right now.
Coming up, Joey is going to ban Dustin one more time, and we're going to talk about the Hogs and Logs from this weekend's games. And if you've got questions for us, you want to have your fantasy questions answered, or you just want to hear us say it on air, throw it in the chat. We'd be more than happy to answer your questions, or come on up air like Dustin and Hal have done so far today.
Come on
and ask us your question live. We'll talk it out with you. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Better Sports Live with Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla. Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific.
Obviously, you've got a couple identities here, right? And so, Lisa Ann's here. Let's talk sports. Let's talk fantasy. What about my team? What do you think about my team? Like, that's dope, man. Like that brand you have built here is huge. And over in Switzerland, you're a big deal in Switzerland. Of course you are.
In Europe, all over Europe. But when I was at the Jersey show like 2 or 3 weekends ago, my security was shocked because every other guy legit handed me his phone and said, "Yo, Lise, can you check my lineup? Can you look on the waiver wire? I got bye weeks coming up." You're right. It's really neat how my worlds have become just this synergy between, me being me and then me reaching out to all of these different people and having this common ground that now it's like we're kind of bros when we talk about sports, right? We're just friends. We're all sharing the same heartbreak or pain. Sports is the international language.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray. Weekdays at noon Eastern, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Probably every team knows that inking starting pitchers to big deals and big money agreements is bad business. But that's the business they're in. What else are they going to do? That's what it costs to play the game. And all these pitchers realize it. I'd like to sit here and say, well, you should develop your own pitching. You should never pay these guys $25 million a year. But Ray, I don't think teams can do that. It's like the pitchers have a lot of power despite their weaknesses and despite their fragility. They still have so much control over the purse strings of these teams and these GMs and these owners. They don't care, Ray. They're seeing the same numbers we are. They know Jake DeGrom, if they sign him, you pray for 130 innings. Every team knows that, Ray. They may say something different, but they know what's going on. And Ray, it won't stop them. I mean, what do you think DeGrom gets in free agency this year?
I think he'll get 4 or 5 years, and he'll get 35 a year each, right? Paying $20 million for Drew Smyly is stupid. Paying $200 million for DeGrom is idiotic, in my opinion. Jacob DeGrom has had 14 injuries the last 2 years. Like, every part of his body, it's just, and he's phenomenal. But you can't be locked in. If DeGrom makes 25 starts, 26 starts, if he throws 150 innings, you could win your division. You could win the World Series. I get it. But if he does the other thing, which is what he's done the last couple of years, your team is so hamstrung, unless you're one of like 2 or 3 teams, you can't spend your way out of that.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Better Sports Network.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. We just finished up our Monday Night Football Prop Bet Draft, and let's run through what we selected here. Just a reminder so everyone knows what we're looking out for in this game. Joey, you took Matt Ryan over 236.5 pass yards. You also took the Colts over 20.5 points and George Pickens over 3.5 receptions. All kind of correlated props. You're throwing them together, buying into this game script.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was just on Thrive, and they took down the Matt Ryan. It was 233.5 over. They took that prop off because they were watching the show and they're like, that Joey guy knows something. We're taking this down. We can't be giving money away.
The Joey Wright bump. Classic. Dude.
Yep.
Classic.
The Joey Wright bump. Coop, you took Pat Freiermuth over 46.5 receiving yards, Najee Harris over 2.5 receptions, and Michael Pittman over 66.5 receiving yards. You feeling good about yours?
Yeah, it's like, I know unders hit a lot more often. I've been very pessimistic betting a lot of unders lately. Last 2 I had was TJ Hawkinson under and George Kittle under, which those both did hit, but I feel good about the over here. No Shaq Leonard. Colts have not been good versus tight ends. At least that one I'm locked in on. The other ones, we going to see.
Nothing inspires confidence like a Colts Steelers primetime game. That's what gets us confident, right, Coop?
Yeah, there's a big one. I mean, this stinks for the schedule makers because there were a few games yesterday, too, that should have been good games. Like on paper, back in September, they probably sat there and were like, this has got to be a good game, right? Chiefs, yeah, like games like that. And then it comes around and meanwhile, Seahawks Raiders turns out to be the amazing game. Who would have guessed?
Man,
what a game. Yeah.
Well, and then Packers Eagles looked like at the beginning of the season like it was going to be a great game. And then we go into this one and we're like, but the Packers stink. And then it's a great game. And then it's so much fun to watch. It had been a while since we'd had a good old fashioned just mess, like drunk game on prime time, like where just it wasn't going right, but it was so much fun to watch.
Do you feel if Rodgers would have finished that game, there would have been a different outcome, or do you think that's an Eagles win regardless?
Rodgers was looking all right before he went out. Like he was making some plays. He was scrambling. Like it was looking like some old Aaron Rodgers, like the Aaron Rodgers of old before he left that game. I think he doesn't get hurt. I do think the Packers potentially pull that game out.
Yeah,
it's at least closer.
I definitely would have rather seen that because it's more fun.
Yeah. Although Alan Lazard got work when Rodgers left, and I needed that, so I was like, all right, give me some points, Alan Lazard.
Worked out. The 3 bets I took Paris Campbell over 42.5 receiving yards, a Kenny Pickett interception, and JT over 83.5 rush yards. That's the one I'm nervous about.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm nervous about. But when you get to the last pick in a single game slate in these drafts, the pickings get slim, and I thought I'm just going to go with the best player. I'm just going to take the best offensive player and bet on him because I think that's the guy that I want to put my eggs in his basket if I got to put him somewhere.
I mean, the games where Kenny Pickett is forced to throw, he pretty consistently throws a pick. So you're kind of rooting for Matt Ryan a bit here, dude, because you want them throwing. You don't want them to be able to get away from it and have one of these games where, like, when they beat Tampa Bay 2018, they threw 18 times. Like that, Kenny Pickett can get away in that game. But if they start throwing 30, 40 times, I mean, they had to throw 44 times against the Dolphins. He threw 3 picks. They had to throw 50 times against Buffalo. He threw 3 picks. Once they start making him sling it, dude, you can bank on one of those going the wrong team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, I wanted to talk through some hogs and logs. It is that time of the week. We're going to go through some of these games, highlight the players that were hogs, highlight the players that were logs. I guess we're low lighting those guys. And we've been talking about this game so much, I figured it's the perfect place to start. The Las Vegas Raiders, Seattle Seahawks overtime game. The Raiders winning 40-34. We mentioned it during BYOB, but it's got to be mentioned again. Josh Jacobs, the absolute monster of a man. 33 carries, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns. Add on top of that 7 targets, 6 receptions, 74 yards. He was already like the top running back on the week before that 86-yard touchdown run at the end of the game. Then he just gives you a free extra like 14 PPR fantasy points down there at the end. Josh Jacobs is a hog. Full-on hog.
Hog is an understatement. He was like that hog, like the bad guy from the Ninja Turtles hog that wears like the leather jacket and like and like those like purple sunglasses like that. He was like
what was his name?
Teenage Mutant Hog. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what his name is. Oh, no, I have no. Oh,
Bebop. Yeah.
Producer Keith has Bebop.
Yeah, there we go,
dude.
Bebop.
He was a Bebop. That's the next level hog, a Bebop, dude, because he was. He broke.
There's a Bebop knockoff from a movie where they didn't get the rights to Bebop. Like they couldn't put Bebop in there. So and there's one other character I'm blanking now, but where they've just got like,
is the other one.
Yes, it's Bebop and
Rocksteady.
Rocksteady, where they have just like, it's not Bebop and Rocksteady, but it is Bebop and Rocksteady. Like it's
Keep
just
open, Frank.
like it's just a little bit different. I'm gonna have to find that, see if we can get it. But Josh Jacobs is the certified Bebop. He's not the knockoff version. Coop, you mentioned this probably knocks him up as like a top 4 running back on the season. He was already sitting there near the top. How are you viewing him rest of season?
I mean, I was the one yelling at Alex Korf, trade daddy, every week. I'm like, dude, Jacobs needs to be higher on this chart. I was, the one saying we had people asking about trading for Alvin Kamara straight up. And I was like, Jacobs, like his usage, I was wrong in the offseason about his usage. I thought it was going to be a split backfield. It's not. And as soon as we realized that, we should have been moving this guy way up, because man, he is fun to watch. Dude. He passes the eye test. He always passed the eye test. It was just about usage. And now that the usage is there,
Joey, top 5 back rest of season for Josh Jacobs?
Even with a matchup against the 49ers and Patriots in the playoffs, he's still I don't know if top 5, like top 10 running back. Easy top 10. 5 is just like,
The Pats might still be missing. The Pats have not been as good at stopping the run since Christian Barmore got hurt.
Yeah.
It really will depend if Christian Barmore is back by then or not, and if they could shore things up a little bit. But
I'm not benching him. Like
49ers are a tough spot too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't bench him against the 49ers, right? Like Jacobs is
No, you
matchup
play
proof
him.
at this point. You just play him.
Play him. Yeah.
There's you start your studs guys, and he's in that category. He's in that tier. He's a stud. You start him regardless.
It's the same argument I made for Samaje Perine that usage is more important than matchup. It always will be. So like, give me a guy that's playing 100% of the snaps or a high percentage of snaps in a bad matchup over a guy that plays half the game in a good matchup. Right? It was the reasons we were staying away from guys like that were like Freiermuth blocking on a ton of plays, or like these guys that Isaiah McKenzie, a guy that comes off the field in 2 wide receiver sets. So you'd have to have an absolute ridiculous team to bench Josh Jacobs in any given week.
Absurd, like actually absurd to put Josh Jacobs on the bench. If you've got even one flex spot, then I almost think it's not possible.
Right.
Like if you've got 2 running backs and a flex, Josh Jacobs is in your lineup no matter what. We've got another player in this game I wanted to bring up. Devontae Adams, always a hog, even though this wasn't his biggest game. You weren't mad about the performance, but it wasn't one of those ones where you're just like, holy shit, Devontae Adams won me the week. 11 targets, 7 receptions, 74 yards. It's 11 targets, and it's Devontae Adams. You keep plugging him in every single week.
Every week.
But Mac Hollins had the touchdown this week. 5 targets, 4 receptions, 63 yards, and a touchdown. giving them about, what is that? In half PPR, 14.3 half PPR points, and in PPR, 16.3. Add another 2 onto there. Joey, Matt Collins, with the injuries that this team has, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow out, do you think he's a weekly startable player?
I think he's a flex. I really do. Wide receiver 3 or a flex, depending on how many receivers you have in your leagues. I mean, he's getting the work there in Las Vegas. Excuse me. Carr likes him. I'm fine starting him.
Yeah, I'm with Joe. You start him like if you're starting him because one of your guys is hurt and coming back, or one of your guys is on bye week, then you're fine with it. But I'm not going to be happy starting him in the playoffs, because once you get to the playoffs, all the teams are good, and you can't be not going to feel good about having Matt Collins. This game is about as Matt Collins as it gets. 50, 60 yards, he either scores or he doesn't.
Yeah, I had a situation where I had Allen Robinson out, Leonard Fournette out, and I went and grabbed Matt Collins off the waiver wire, plugged him in, and turned out good for me. But that's the kind of situation I would want to be in to be able to start him.
Exactly.
To have to start him.
The tight end for this team. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, sometimes I like having my back against the wall like that, where I don't have any decisions to make, and I can start these guys that I like. They're on my team because I like them. You know what I mean? And I can just put them all in there, and you feel good about it, versus the weeks where you have to make a bunch of decisions and you make the wrong ones. Having your back against the wall, it's kind of nice.
Coop, I'm with you. I've said that before, like where all of the agency is taken out of it. The lineup I start is the lineup I have to start. There's not a single player on my bench who's playing or uninjured. And this is what I got to do. This is what we're rolling with. It's a good feeling in the worst way. Foster Moreau had 7 targets yesterday, Coop, but only turned it into 3 receptions, 33 yards, but did find the end zone. I know you've talked about him being primarily a blocking tight end, or blocking a little bit too much for your liking to start. Are you still seeing that from him, or is he someone you think you can start?
So because I didn't watch this whole game, it was on at 4:00, and I had the Cardinals game on the television where I live. That was the televised game. So I didn't get to watch the entire game. Those numbers don't come out for the people that report them. They're not out yet. Our show is a little too early for that. We do have the snap numbers. He played a good number of snaps, but once again, this guy has never had a game with 67 yards. He's not efficient with the targets he gets. He's not Darren Waller. And we didn't even really like Darren Waller in this offense. So, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't trust him, dude. I know everyone fell in love with him on Hard Knocks. He's one of those guys. There's certain guys that people end up with an affinity for, like Donald Parham and all these guys. We want them to be
Williams.
Good. Yeah. Paul Williams.
I said Jamal Williams. That was
Jamal.
People fell in love with. It's working out a little better, but that's a Hard Knock sweetheart.
He's the Hard Knock sweethearts, and I think people like Foster Moreau from that era. But going back, like he's had a ton of chances to start. He's been in the league for a long time. He's never really done much. Last week he blocked on 16 pass plays, which is absurd. So, yeah, don't really trust him.
Yeah, I was sure that was going to be your answer, Coop. I had a feeling that's what it was going to say, but I'm with you. Foster Moreau, he's an emergency. You can play him and hope for the touchdown, but he's firmly in that tight end glob, the glob of tight ends that probably can live on the waiver wire, and you can pick them up and plug in as need be.
I've gotten so much mileage. Go ahead.
Seahawks are the stone worst team versus the tight end. He had 3 catches for 30 yards.
Yikes.
I've gotten a lot of mileage out of that Foster Moreau not having 67 receiving yards in a game stat, Coop, that you dropped like 4 weeks ago.
It's still true.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, dude. It takes a village, right, Joey? So.
Do you know Josh Jacobs has never had a receiving touchdown in the NFL?
It's absurd.
Wow.
That is absurd. If you remember, that was part of it. Like that was part of his skill set when he was coming out of college, right? Like he was a receiving back.
I was checking the old tweeter to see if I had any cold Josh Jacobs takes, which I did not. And I found a tweet from Dave Kluge that I replied to that said Josh Jacobs had not had a receiving touchdown. And I went to check. I was like, does he had one this year? So it was back from February. Still has not had one.
Absurd.
Crazy.
See Scott Fish in the chat saying he looked up last week how to say Foster Moreau's last name and has been mad since. He prides himself on knowing those. Are we saying it wrong? We getting Moreau wrong?
Oh, Scott, call in and tell us how to say that name. Please tell me it's not like Maru or something.
Also, we had a question in here
from
we had a question in here from Craig, and then some additional questions that we missed during the draft. Oh, it's Morrow. So Foster Morrow.
Like bone marrow?
What it is. Like bar. Mar. Morrow.
I don't like
Morrow.
That's going to be an adjustment.
Morrow.
Getting Morrow out.
No, I'm not adjusting. I'm just gonna.
I
I'm just
won't
gonna
be
hope he
saying
goes
your name
away.
correctly.
That's. I tried to do that. I tried to do that with Robert Tonyan, where I just like called him Tonyan, and I was like, I hope this guy just goes away, but they never did. So I had to learn how to say his name properly.
That's the worst. To say people's names correctly.
Annoying.
Come on,
right? So be respectful.
That is Dale saying that's brand new information. That is brand new information to me as well. Craig said, I'm up 40 with Miles Jack going up against Zaire Franklin tonight in a high-scoring IDP league. Am I safe? So, Joey, is Craig safe?
So you said it was who did Craig have? I know it was a 40.
Has Miles Jack, and he's up 40 going against Zaire
Franklin. Oh God, it's Franklin. Craig, you're gonna have to be up till like midnight to the last play of this game. It's gonna be close. It's gonna be really
gonna be close. Yeah. We had another question coming in from Lucius. Lucius said, hope your games went well this weekend. Thank you so much, Lucius. Same to you. And I have a lot of Josh Jacobs, so my games went very well. I've got him in like over 80% of leagues, so I had a good fantasy week. But he said, I'm carrying 3 tight ends between Foster Moreau, Hayden Hurst, and Cole Kmet. Which one of these is a drop? Thanks in advance. Tight end Tinkler, we'll come to you first. Which one of these would you be dropping? Or if it's multiple, which ones?
I mean, to be honest with you, it's probably going to be Foster Moreau. Let me take a quick peek at the matchups here.
What were those names again, Simon?
Foster Moreau, Cole Kmet, and Hayden Hurst.
I mean, so Hayden Hurst goes back to being a pumpkin as soon as Jamar Chase is back. Like, how many injuries do they need for this guy to be relevant? We were saying that at the start of the season, that like you need your guy to be a top 2 target for him to be an actual focal point of the team. And the best player on the team got hurt, and they're still throwing it to Boyd more, still throwing it to Higgins more. So when Chase gets back, you're never going to start. You're never going to start Hayden Hurst, I feel. So
yeah.
But if he's out, if Jamar Chase is out this week, you get the Chiefs, which is a good matchup. Over-unders to be high on that game, might be a start. But I think I'd still rather start Foster Moreau than Hayden Hurst, as crazy as that sounds. I really don't like starting Austin. Hayden Hurst is the most boring fantasy player there might ever be.
Joey, what about the most boring fantasy player? But a good dude. We like Hayden Hurst.
Well, he's the man.
As a man, we love Hayden Hurst.
I've donated money.
Fantasy player, put him on someone else's team.
I've donated money to his charity so that to kind of even out the amount of saying he's boring for fantasy football. But he is. I mean, like,
every time Coop says he's boring, he goes and donates another $1 to Hayden Hurst charity just out of guilt because he thinks he's such a good dude.
How about having one 60-yard game like at any point, Hayden?
No, that's a little much to ask. Joey, are you agreeing with Coop's take on these tight ends?
I'm not, and I love Coop, but for me, it's going to come down to who the quarterback is. And I know that's weird because we're talking about tight ends, but if Justin Fields doesn't return this year, I don't really want to start Cole Kmet. And I see some good matchups for Foster Moreau and some for Hayden Hurst as well, especially that Kansas City matchup if Jamar Chase isn't back. But these guys are all in kind of like a little group for me, so it's just a matter of Justin Fields not being there, and I don't think he's coming back this year. I'm sorry.
There's not an injury I'm more sad about than the Justin Fields injury. That one just breaks my heart, man.
It's going to be so dope when Jamar Chase and Darren Waller come back and then you don't have a tight end at all.
That's a good point.
That's going to be sick, dude.
Is Waller going to come back this year?
Probably. I mean, if they keep winning these games, man, I mean, they got to force the issue, right? Because it's like teams are getting too smart nowadays. Like back in the day, it was like, you're the starter, kid. You get back in there. When now it's like you put your cigarette out and get back in the game. Now it's like, teams are using analytics. They're thinking about, wear and tear. They're thinking like, look at DeAndre Swift. No reason to run that guy in the ground in a losing season again here. So teams are willing to shut guys down. You need to have surgery, have it as early as possible. Get back as soon as possible. Teams are thinking about that. It's even crazier in baseball. Like the day that teams get mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, 5 guys go and have like thumb surgery. Like but that's the way you should do it. Get the guys back as soon and get ready for next year. So if the team's competing and continues to win these overtime games, then you might see them back. Otherwise, they might just fold it up.
They've got a game theory expert on every team staff now, where they're just playing game theory instead of just looking at these are our best players.
Oh, that's man, that's like a narrative guy.
Just a narrative guy on staff.
I need to send my resume out. I love you. Whoa.
That
I
could
want
be
that
you.
job.
Joey, I can just picture, I don't know what you're gonna do or say beyond every time you walk in the office, you're gonna like unfurl some sort of giant piece of paper on some giant map on the table, right? Like just especially there'll be stuff all over the table and you just swipe it on the ground. And you're like, here's where we're at, right? That's what I picture you doing.
I've always wanted to do that. It's on my bucket list to walk in and just have something. It's got to be necessary though. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just stage it where I go into a table and just brush it all on the floor and lay out a big piece of paper. Like, and here's the plan, guys. Right. But in what way do I ever get in that situation in my life? I can't even think of a path, but it's on my list of something I want to do.
Maybe to surprise you, your birthday gift this year is we'll plan something elaborate for the expo that will set you up for that situation.
Yes.
I have to not see it coming though. Like all of a sudden I walk it, like I'm walking in with this giant piece of paper and still I'm so oblivious because it's such high stakes. And I'm like, we got to get this done.
Here's what we'll do.
Here's the plan.
We'll actually
go Coop.
I was going to say, we'll actually have someone actually shoot JL. And then me and Joey will drag him in the door into a room and we'll be like, Simon, he's shot. And then you'll look around and see a table. We already strategically put a bunch of stuff on the table. And then you'll go over and clear the table dramatically and be like, put him here.
Not the couches in the hotel lobby or anything. We're putting them on a table.
No, we're going to, don't worry. We're going to make sure that we have like Craig and Scott Fish, everybody sitting on the couches. They're full. They can't, so we're going to make sure we set you up for the table.
And then is someone going to pull him in like Jeff Wilson got pulled by Tyreek Hill off the field during the Dolphins game yesterday?
If I don't get to pull you into a bar in Canton that way next year, I'm gonna be really sad. Like, I need to do that, Simon.
Yeah, we gotta retrace that.
Yeah.
Also, I see Tabitha in the chat. Good morning, Tabitha. Welcome in. Joey's mom. We love moms here.
Yeah.
Good morning. Welcome in. Glad to have you here. Guys, let's move on to this next game to talk some Hogs and Logs. The Miami Dolphins, Houston Texans game. The Dolphins won this one 30-15, and we started with Hogs on the last one. Joey, we're going to start with a log here. And the reason we're doing it is because I want to have the belief reinstilled in me, and I know you can do it. Dameon Pierce, for the second week in a row, just an absolute stinker of a game. He had 5 carries for 8 yards in this one. What's going on, man? Because that is a log performance.
This was a log performance from the Texans. Once the Dolphins were up 30-0, Dameon Pierce he had one more carry in the game, and that's all he had the rest of the game. This was this game's out of hand. Let's not hurt the kid. That's the way I see this. That's the way I'm telling myself so I could sleep at night. But Dameon Pierce is still a thing for me. If the Texans are somewhat competing in a game, Dameon Pierce will be out there. This is 2 bad games in a row, though. I am a little worried, but not that worried.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. I sit there asking myself, I'm like, why doesn't this running back on the worst team in the league have monster games in these back-to-back games? I mean, like, why isn't the worst team in the league running the ball heavily and well? Right.
It doesn't make sense, Coop. Just like you would think that's generally the game script for teams that are down by a lot is to hand their running back the ball 30 times a game. But for some reason, we're not seeing it.
What's going on? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to see the underlying stats on why this team losing by double-digit touchdowns can't afford to run the ball heavily.
I mean, but that was Joey's point, right? Like when they're down by a lot, Dameon Pierce is going to get phased out of this game. When they're not, if they're even somewhat competitive, Dameon Pierce is an absolute stud. Scott Fishing, you're saying the NFL figured him out. Got to try tackling him instead of letting him break tons of tackles. They hadn't tried that strategy yet, but maybe now they're figuring it out. Dameon Pierce is one of my favorite new players to watch though, because there's a couple guys in the NFL that are angry runners that run with just anger in every step. And Dameon Pierce, I feel like has that anger in those steps. Like he is running with purpose. People run into him and they just bounce off. They're repelled by Dameon Pierce as he's trucking down the sideline.
Since I bought my teeny bopper Dameon Pierce pink t-shirt, he's not been good. And so I'm starting to blame myself, guys. And
you put the bad juju on it.
I think I might have, and I hate that. I even said when I bought the shirt,
order a Kirk Cousins one to make JL happy.
There you go.
I do not like Kirk Cousins.
You're right. You're right, Simon, though. There are a few guys like that. Like Derrick Henry. That
Same
dude
thing.
Shot out of a cannon, bro. He starts from 12 yards deep and just runs right up the middle. Nobody even blocks either. I'm convinced. He'll just get 8 yards when there's nothing there, bro. playing against Derrick Henry must suck, bro.
I think I've asked this before, but how much would you have to get paid to stand on the 50-yard line and have Derrick Henry take off from the other end zone and just hit you?
No, I would die.
How many people are watching?
It's at a full stadium. It's the halftime show.
So it's being recorded.
Yeah.
I did it for $20.
I thought you were going the other way, Joey, but I'm exactly the same.
Joey,
I mean,
Joey
a lot of
Knoxville.
clicks. A lot of clicks on that video. A lot of clicks on that video.
I appreciate that for the tent, right? You do it for the content.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know if I could do that, dude.
Jay said,
getting hit by a train.
Jay said maybe Dameon Pierce had a very pleasant Thanksgiving and he wasn't angry enough for this game. Maybe that's what he did it.
I tried calling him, but my number's been blocked. So
Keith in here with what happens when an unstoppable force meets a very movable object.
Cartoonish ragdoll.
Oh my god. No, I would I'm not sure I would survive that. If I get off the couch wrong, I'm in a brace for 8 weeks. A hit from Derrick Henry, I truly think I'd get launched into another dimension. Like I think I would just blip out of existence on the field. There would be no more Simon. You'd see like a portal open up, and then Derrick Henry would just be running with nobody on the field in front of him anymore.
There's like a graph like this of how as the number of beers I've had goes up, the amount of money you need to pay me goes down. So it'd be like this, actually going this way.
Yeah.
So.
10 beers in, and Coop's like, Derek, wrestle me. Wrestle me. Come on.
$50 and I'll eat this spider.
I think you would have to be inebriated when it happened, because you'd be a little more relaxed, because if you take that and you're like, that's when you get really hurt. But if you're just like, if you're going to fly through the air, I
think they've proven that like in car accidents and stuff, like if you brace for it, then you get a little more roughed up.
Yeah.
But if you just kind of like let yourself get tossed, get up, brush it off, pull a howl, move your 3 beers to the other hand and kick a pigeon or kick a quail or whatever, and you're good.
I think I just turned to dust.
Just a pink mist.
Just be 2 pairs of New Balance shoes on the ground. Nothing else there.
Coop, I think you hit the nail on the head though. Maybe not just drunk, but like when he's about to hit you, like you have to time it perfectly. You just go entirely limp.
Yeah.
Like no tension in your body. Like be crumbling as the hit comes in, just to let it go straight through you.
And when he's at the 20, just go ahead and boop your pants, because you know what's going to happen. Get it out of the way.
Get that out of the way.
Make it your decision, not his. On where
he smells it by the 5-yard line, and he lightens up on the hit a little bit.
Yeah, could be.
That's the good move right there. We got JP in the chat saying, what's up? What's up, JP? Welcome in. And he said, if you're drunk, you're loose and numb. So it checks out 100%.
Makes a lot of sense, dude. Not going to stop you from that whiplash, but that's a tomorrow problem.
Yeah,
another
exactly.
tomorrow problem.
You won't feel that today. JP also saying wild game by Christian Watson. Looks like Jordan Love may actually like him. So we talked a little bit about him earlier, JP, but yeah, I think it's time to start buying into Christian Watson. Even with Jordan Love under center, are you guys starting him week in, week out? Like, let's say we see some more of Jordan Love.
I said it
because
before.
Rib injuries are a little all over the place.
I said it before this week that if he could get it done, if he could make something happen against and have them not completely go away from him, which the beginning part of the game they kind of did, but if you can make something happen against Darius Slay and James Bradbury, then you can make things happen against pretty much anybody. Like that is one of, if not the best tandems of corners. And when a team has a tandem, you can't escape them. There's nowhere to hide, So if he can make it happen against this team, he can make it happen anywhere.
Yeehaw. The other part of what he said is Christian McCaffrey shit the bed. It was not a good McCaffrey game. Joey, are you concerned about Christian McCaffrey and his usage in this offense for fantasy?
No.
No.
Not at all.
The Zach Wilson answer. No.
It's Christian McCaffrey.
The Saints are just a good defense, man.
Exactly. One of the best run defenses in the league. That on paper it doesn't really look like that, but when you watch the games, they can shut down running backs like no one else.
Like nobody's business. And I mean, the concerns I have are just he's probably not going to be a 30 touch guy in a game. Know what I mean? No matter how much we want him to be, because the 49ers don't need him to be a 30 touch guy in a game. From an NFL perspective, it doesn't make sense to make him one of the running backs that's touching the ball that many times in a game. So he'll still be great. He can get it done on 20 touches.
One caveat, of course, is that anytime somebody leaves with an injury, got to wait and see what happens with that. McCaffrey got a little banged up. Elijah Mitchell got a little banged up. I think they both hung around in the game, but I just want to see what's going on there. But if he's healthy, I'm not worried at all. Starting him every single week.
Absolutely. Some other players from the Houston Texans, Miami Dolphins game that were hogs or logs. I don't know if there's a single player that's a hog on the Texans side of the ball. You guys got anyone that you would consider a hog? Maybe Jordan Akins in this game. 5 targets, 5 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown. Any honorable mention hog status for Jordan Akins, or is he right back in the glob?
He's in the glob there because they're doing the thing a lot of teams do where they have another tight end that blocks this guy, Quitoriano, and then he plays like half the snaps. So I can't trust these guys that are only playing half the snaps and running half the routes. Or Jordan Akins is still in that group. Even with Brevin Jordan, the healthy scratch for all these games, I don't know what's going on with that. But you can't trust those guys. DFS start though. DFS start though.
So the news came out, Allen Robinson's his season's over. He's going to have season-ending surgery. A player I like off the waiver wire is Nico Collins. Over 8 targets the last 3 games. Like, you got to pick someone up. I don't mind having Nico Collins if he's out there. Last I checked, it was like 33% of leagues he's managed in. So
he's in that Og territory, right? He's not a log. You can't call him a log. You can't call a guy getting 10, 7, 9 targets a log. You can't call him a hog though, because he's not really busting out these big games. But I don't see why he can't be in that same group with like Mac Hollins, Zay Jones, Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Exactly.
That you can count on them to not give you a 0. And there's a lot of leagues I'm in, like Scott Fishbowl formats, where that's all you need to get you through.
Alan here with a question saying, with 0% chance at playoffs, why do I still fret over waivers and lineup decisions? Because you play to win every single week, Hal. I don't care if you're out of the hunt.
Right.
You are going against someone you know, someone in your league, a league mate. And it doesn't matter. You know what feels better than beating someone when you're 9-0? Beating the 9-0 team when you're 0-9 feels fantastic. Play the spoiler maker. It feels great to have your buddy miss the playoffs because you beat them when you were out of it, because you picked up the waiver wire ad in week 14. Like, it's a beautiful feeling. The trash talk is on another level because nothing they can say can hurt you. You're already out of the playoffs. You know the deal. They're the only ones with something to lose.
What is dead may never die.
Exactly. They can't kick you while you're down because you are fully embracing being down there, and go out there and beat them down. Get that W. You guys still play whenever you're eliminated from playoff contention? You guys keep active on the waiver wire?
Unless there's a rule, like for instance, Scott Fish was in the chat earlier. His league, the biggest industry league, the rule is that once you're eliminated, like you still have matchups and stuff technically, but you're not allowed to pick up guys off waivers. If that's a rule in my league, I always respect the rules. But if there's no rule against that, I play to win. I mean, especially if it's on a format like Yahoo or whatever, that keeps like a little thing that says like, oh, you're a gold star player and you're a silver player and you're a platinum player. And it keeps your all-time records and all this stuff. Like, I've got leagues going back 20 years and Yahoo tells me what my all-time record is. I want that record to be good. Like, I play for keeps, man. So I'm plus I talk about this stuff every day. So I talk about it with you guys and I'm like, oh, Joey said something kind of interesting there. I'm going to go sneak this guy into a team, just so I have him somewhere. So I always play for keeps.
I play the regular season out. I don't ever stop. But once the playoffs hit, if I'm at, which doesn't happen often because I'm good, but no, it's not true. I'm horrible at this. I don't know why I'm here. Once the playoffs come, I won't pick up any off waivers. I want those playoff teams to, they got there for a reason. Even if there's not a rule, I won't do it just upon principle.
It depends.
If there's a consolation bracket, I'm playing to win that consolation bracket. I have plenty of leagues.
I understand it. I won't do it.
I have plenty of leagues that don't have consolation brackets. The season just ends, and then my season's over. I'm not going to pick up players if I don't have a matchup. But if you're going to put me in a matchup, I'm going to win that matchup. I mean, why have the consolation bracket? That's a conversation that needs to be had with the rest of forget these unwritten rules. Like, if you have a matchup for me, I'm going to win the matchup.
Yeah. In my main home league, the consolation bracket, I mean, we play out for draft spots. So like the reverse order standings is the next year because just redraft. So everyone plays out every week in that. But still, like, if I'm in the consolation bracket, which has only happened one time in 15 years, by the way, I just want to bring that up. It's probably going to happen again this year, though. Sadly, for the second time. I'll just tanking for the first pick.
Tank for Tua. No. Now, what I will say about the consolation brackets is I'm in leagues where the winner of the consolation bracket gets the first overall pick the following year, right? Like, so there's incentive to not just play well in it, but to actually win it because you're going to get the 101 in the following year's draft. So, like, if there's anything like that, I'm pushing as hard as I can. Or, like JL always brings up, if you have a weekly award, the highest score on the week, gets $5, gets $10. Then there's something to play for every single week, regardless. There's a little cash prize attached to it. So I highly recommend. It's made fantasy more fun for me to take some of those dues, whatever it is, and add a weekly award for the highest scoring team.
I like that. That's how we do it in my biggest league, and it's great.
JL's going in.
The chat's getting feisty. Yeah.
JL is hyper about it. He said, I'm so glad this is our stance as a company because it's bothered me forever that people get so pissy about this. Right. Your league mates have no obligation to make it easier for you to win your championship. It's soft to bitch about it. JL is on one in the chat about this.
I can bench. Should I bench JL? I can do that. I didn't think I could. I didn't think a wrench could bench a wrench. Warning, JL.
I don't know the wrenches, but he's on our side on this one, so I say we leave him unbenched because then he'll just call in the show like Dustin did, and then we got to do.
Not really gonna do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just don't have like if I add a guy, if you're gonna complain about it, don't give me a matchup. Don't put a consolation bracket. You can remove that feature, right? You get to choose if there's gonna be matchups for me. If you're gonna put matchup for me, I'm gonna win it. So there you go. Just know
to take that W, or just do best ball, and then no one has to worry about any of it. Then all the lineups are set for all eternity. On the Dolphins side of the ball in this Houston Texans Miami Dolphins game, Tua's a week in, week out hog, right? The dude played a half. He played one half. He threw the ball 36 times, almost 300 yards, 299 yards, and a touchdown. Man, this has been one of the highlights of this season for me is watching Tua come out and just shut up everybody who didn't believe in him because he looks like one of the good quarterbacks in the NFL. Know what I mean? Like one of the guys, like a franchise quarterback for Miami, the tank for Tua paying off. He's a hog. He's a locked in hog for me.
Stud. He almost threw for as many yards. Dude, he had such a good game. He almost threw for as many yards as Mac Jones this week.
He threw almost as many as the future Hall of Famer Mac Jones. I saw you sneak that one in there, Coop.
He threw for almost as many yards as Mac Jones and Mike White, right?
And a half.
Mike White, the absolute stud. You can't get away from him.
Too good,
is Tua permanently in the hog category for you guys? Like he's an every week start, right? You can't bench Tua.
I'm not benching Tua.
Hog of Fame.
Hallen here wanted to know if we like the way he does it. He said, in the leagues I commission, I have a playoff most points that includes toilet bowl for a payout. So playoff most points is the way that he does it with a payout for the toilet bowl. Yeah. Anything you can do to incentivize it. Like if your goal is for everyone to play to the final whistle, incentivize it any way you can. And having payouts down there is a good way to do that.
A guy I used to work with has a great rule. He's an older guy. And he had a friend named Birdie who unfortunately passed away. So they created this thing called the Birdie Bowl, which basically they play the season out, and like Joey likes it, there's no add. Well, you can add players throughout, but the season ends for the teams that don't make the playoffs when the playoffs start. But everybody's scrambling to find the best week 17 matchups because they have this one last matchup that every team is in. So the championship is week 17. Then week 18 is the Birdie Bowl. Whoever scores the highest points in that last week out of everybody gets like a prize that's almost as much as the actual overall prize. So once you're out of it, these kids, they all like really strategize super hard to see like, okay, who's going to be playing week 17 still, who's not, because there's a huge prize for that last week. I think that's kind of a cool concept.
I love it. Let's normalize that.
Birdie Bowl, man. Bring it in. And it keeps one more week of fantasy fun too for everybody.
One more week. One more week.
Let's go. Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, baby.
Man, sometimes like as the season starts getting to an end, you're like, man, this is a long season. Then the day it ends, the second that game's over, you're like, okay, more football, please. Like when's it started? You're like, oh no.
I cope by that by immediately starting writing articles, like my off-season stuff. I read an article on every single team for free agency and every single team for the draft, and that's how I just like cling to football. I'm like, it never ends because I never stop writing about it.
I got excited about mock drafting yesterday. I was like, man, I can't wait for mock drafts to come back.
Yeah, Joe, you brought it up the other day. You were like, yo, let's do mock drafts here in this team in the offseason. I was like, oh, baby, mock draft season. I can't wait to do another 200 mock drafts this offseason. We had a question from JP in here. JP wanted to know, what's the most painful move you guys have made this season? He said, I drafted Kenneth Walker and dropped him. Dropped Kenneth Walker after drafting him. That one hurts, my man. That's a bad one. The only thing that comes to mind immediately was drafting and then moving Kyle Pitts into my lineup every single week because it just felt like I had to. Every week I'd put him on the bench and be like, maybe I'll play this guy. And then every single week I just moved him back into that tight end spot. I couldn't stop starting him and it felt bad every week. So drafting Kyle Pitts, probably my most painful move. And I didn't even realize it at the time how much pain it was going to cause. You guys have any moves this year that you're just like, oh?
Yeah, there was a league where the one where I'm still in contention, and it's like a deep. I don't know why I did this. It's a deep league with multiple flexes, so you kind of start everybody. And early on, I dropped Jamal Williams. I was just like, Swift's back, and I'm not going to need this guy. Turns out I needed that guy pretty bad. Turns out that guy would have been in my lineup every single week for quite some time, and probably outscoring the players that I did keep. Now I don't even remember what the circumstances was where I was just like, I'm never going to start Jamal Williams again. Probably would have started him every single week, including the last couple of weeks where he had like a bunch of outs. So yeah, that one hurt, dude. I don't know why I did it. And the thing is, like, you can picture a league where you would drop him. This is not that league. It's the opposite of that league. It's like 14 teams, and you start like 12 guys. Like, it's just dumb moves that we make,
Yikes. Yikes. What about you, Joey?
I was 50-50 on the quarterbacks this year. I pretty much went heavy on 4 quarterbacks. Tua, Fields, okay, yay, doing great. Then I got a lot of Stafford, and I know Jay in the chat's with me, and a lot of Russell Wilson. Any Stafford and Wilson that I had, just
Did you do what I did and just started Russell Wilson out of spite all year? Just
pretty much.
As the plane,
about
as the plane hit the water.
I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm angry at myself.
I've been starting Geno, and like the Russell Wilson and Geno, the way that their good games have matched up, it hasn't worked out particularly well. Like
I was hoping you were gonna be like, oh yeah, it's worked out. I'm like, oh,
it worked out. No, it's worked out the opposite, where I've just been like, Geno's killing me too. Let me get Russ back in there. And then I miss a Geno game, and I'm just like,
Hal in here saying he traded away Miles Sanders for Tyrion Davis-Price and some other Jags. So dumb. That one hurts my man. But we all make trades like that. I've told this story before, but I traded away Alvin Kamara, his rookie year, in a dynasty league for CJ Anderson and Doug Martin is the move that I made. So sometimes we make trades that are not great. And Hal saying in my 14-team Superflex, Russ Wilson is on waiver wires. That's disrespectful.
That is rude.
That's disrespectful to Russell Wilson.
Is there a chance for a bounce back for him next year? Like,
yes. I said it earlier show kind of quietly that like you got to give these guys new coach, new coordinator, new offense. You have to give them, in any other circumstance, you give them 2 years. It's just the pomp, the audacity of the way they approach this season, made for the collapse. But man, you got to give him another year.
Yeah,
I think so. I think you're right. I think Russell Wilson, and I'll be surprised if Nathaniel Hackett's still there, but it seems like, Coop, you think we're still going to see some Nathaniel Hackett as well next year, right?
Yeah. And I know Scott says he's been on my blacklist QB for 2 years in a row. And I know, Scott, I remember seeing a conversation. I think I was just watching a show you were on where you could talk about how Russell Wilson just does nothing in the playoffs, does nothing at the end of the year every year. When you go back and look at the stats, it's actually, Scott's right. Like he just disappears, man.
Absolutely. Guys, we are going to be ending a little bit early today, but I wanted to thank every single person who came in here and hung out with us this Monday morning. We'll be back tomorrow morning from 7 to 10 Eastern time for some more of the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show. To make sure to come and hang out with us then. Enjoy your Sunday night football. Actually, it's Monday, so enjoy your Monday night football. Steelers at Colts. Until tomorrow, we're out of here. Adios, everyone.
Bye, everybody.